Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 6 of What If Naruto Was Trained by Orochimaru. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. Next match, Dosu Kinuta vs Hinata Hibiki. Genma called out. Naruto leaned towards Hinata before she could go down into the arena. Hina-chan, I know you'll do well, but please keep your clothes on. She warmly smiled. Don't worry. I don't intend to give anybody a free show. I'm not even sure why those two did. That wasn't very professional of them. Naruto shrugged. We'll just have to ask them later. You better get going before you're late. Hinata nodded and hurried down, with Dosu doing the same. Dosu wasn't as worried about this match as he had been when it was called a month ago. Naruto told him he wouldn't make it personal if Hinata got hurt, and Hinata said she didn't want him afraid to fight his best because of Naruto and she'd keep him in line if he acted out. The two stood in their designated stops and faced each other. The Hyuga looked on with the most interest here, hoping Hinata would need medical attention when this was over so they could take her away with few if any people noticing. They also hoped to see if they could figure out any secrets about her unique fighting style as they watched. Neji probably had the most interest out of all the Hyuga, but ironically he didn't have it for the same reason as the rest of his clan. The clan was fixated on making sure Hinata was under their control so she and her village could never use their power against them being the clan not Konoha, and so she and her family would not give the Hyuga a bad name elsewhere in the world. But as far as Neji was concerned, acquiring her would just be acquiring one more nobody, and no matter how unique her fighting style may be, it was still in the developing stages, whereas the Jukin had been perfected over generations. She got lucky because he had expected different from her, but in his eyes, if he fought her again, she would fall before him without a struggle. Oh, the lies the proud tell themselves to stay proud. Ready. Begin. Genma declared. Byakugan. Hinata said, activating her dujutsu, and got into her Surudokan stance, which resembled that of a samurai holding a sword, but her hands were empty and stretched out. Dosu got into his own stance, which was mainly him crouching forward, making him look a lot like a lion ready to pounce. His left hand held all his upper body weight so he could freely move his covered right hand when he needed to. Hinata made the first move, trying to close the gap. This will be tough since we're both close-range fighters, but he doesn't need to even touch me to affect me. My best bet is to hit him before he can hit me and stick it out if I am hit. She ran up to him ready to hit him with a Surudokan strike. Dosu held his right arm out in front of him defensively, knowing if she struck the gauntlet instead it would hurt her more than it would hurt him. Hinata instead placed both palms on the ground and swung on them to her left side, delivering a roundhouse kick to Dosu's back. The main genin involuntarily dived forward upon contact but caught himself and flipped over, standing straight up when he landed. Melody gauntlet high-pitched screech. A sound like a siren was made and everyone who heard it covered their ears. To Dosu's surprise, Hinata didn't. What the? Oh, she must have put earplugs in place just before she came down here. That'll help her, but it won't stop all my attacks. Dosu ended his attack, much to the relief of the audience. Hinata ran up to him and tried to hit his tenketsu. She found it wasn't that easy since Dosu was wearing armor under his clothes to act as a barrier to her attacks. The armor couldn't stop her strikes, but it did make them less effective. It also limited his movements so he couldn't effectively fight her back. With Hinata being close to him, Dosu attempted to get a few hits on her by throwing some punches and kicks in. It was going fine but not good enough for his tastes, so he added something extra when he got his right arm right in front of Hinata's face. Melody gauntlet sonic boom. A huge sudden burst of sound erupted from his gauntlet with the force of a cannon, hitting Hinata in point-blank range. The force of the attack sent her flying back far enough that she almost collided with the wall surrounding the arena, landing on her stomach. Oh crap, please tell me I didn't kill her. Naruto's going to kill me. Dosu told himself quietly. Hinata painfully struggled to get up, her arms and legs protesting her movements. Her head pounded and she was certain her ears were bleeding now that her earplugs had gotten dislodged and were probably lying scattered in the arena. Her Byakugan was still active, so even with her eyes clenched she could still see that so far Dosu had yet to approach her. If she waited too long, he'd change his mind and continue his attacks. Using as much strength as she could, Hinata pushed herself onto her feet as soon as she saw Dosu run to keep fighting her. 5 trigrams acupuncture assault, she said before striking him with many blows, looking like a normal Hyuga would in fighting. But there was a big difference here. When Hyugas attack, they generally use a fixed number of strikes and/or in a specific order to get a specific result. This attack threw order out the window and allowed Hinata to strike wherever she wanted in whatever order she wanted and however many times. The downside was that this meant the result could either be pleasurable or excruciating, based on sheer chance. Pleasurable if all the strikes happened to cancel each other out, and excruciating if they didn't. Hinata had no way of knowing for sure what the result would be. She finished to avoid wearing her arms out too soon in the match and stepped back. Dosu was stiff but loosened up and even stretched his limbs a bit, overall looking a bit relaxed. Apparently Hinata's attack had the helpful result rather than the harmful. Damn, I'm going to have to hit harder now, but I don't want to give anything away to those nosy Hyugas. I may have to chance it. She crossed her arms in front of herself forming an X, but her expression showed she wasn't hiding. 5 trigrams sword and club confusion. She thrust her arms forward and moved to attack him yet again. Dosu tried deflecting her blows but was having little luck. Damn, I better use the technique Kabuto-sensei taught me before I lose all my chakra here. He made one hand sign. Leech palm jutsu. His left hand became covered in chakra and he used that to hit her while using his armored right arm to block her blows. The Hyugas watching were confused by what they saw through their Byakugans. This is quite unusual. The defiant girl has both her hands tipped with chakra, but they aren't the same. The right ends with sharp points and the left end with blunt points. What does she hope to accomplish with such an awkward combination? Not to mention that the covered-up boy has a chakra-covered hand too which moves inwardly as if they were suctioned behind it. Hinata felt her chakra being taken from her a few times already. If Dosu kept this up, she'd run out before she made him bleed his own, unless her current jutsu worked first. Her technique, sword and club confusion, was a combination of the Juken and Tsurudoken. The sword was the Tsurudoken, used to open the Tenketsu, while the club was the Juken, used to close them. Used at the same time like this resulted in an attack that repeatedly opened and closed chakra points on a person over and over again. The result was the entire chakra network would be thrown into array and shut down, leaving no ability to mold chakra or perform jutsu, with an added bonus of the remaining open tenketsu still bleeding out chakra. So far Hinata's technique was working perfectly, but there was a setback. Dosu blocked most of her hits he could with his melody gauntlet, primarily her left-handed hits. Each hit triggered a small sonic blast as an automatic defense, which left a numb feeling in her fingers and a ringing in her ears. She couldn't afford to hit harder or let Dosu use it since she had yet to regain her earplugs, and if he kept blocking this way, her balance would falter and she'd have a hard time keeping chakra in her fingers for a time. To put it simply, the two were quite evenly matched right then. There. That should take care of everything we wanted to do beforehand. Jiraiya said, wiping some sweat out of his eyes. Now what do we do? We wait for the signal from Tsunade. Orochimaru told him. By the way, where did Kushina and Subsonic go? Orochimaru smiled. They're where they want to be for this little event. The two genin had to cease their attacks briefly to rest their arms and catch their breaths. Hinata was the more physically worn out but her chakra levels were fine to continue. Dosu however was physically better with more stamina but his chakra levels were dramatically lessened. Hinata was breathing heavier than Dosu also. Dosu planted his right hand on the ground. Melody Gauntlet Heavy Bass Blast. A soundwave went right through the ground and up Hinata's body from her feet. She felt like her internal organs were rattling around inside her, and with her balance already affected she collapsed on her right side. Ah, do I look as nauseous as I feel? I swear I gotta throw up. She told her sleff as she struggled back to her feet. Sorry Hinata, nothing personal. Dosu stated before recreating the leech palm and placing it on her back. He was still bleeding chakra from her hits but this helped stabilize him a little bit. Hinata then surprised him by reaching up and grabbing his shirt collar, pulling him closer to her face. What the? She looks like she's about to kiss him, but I know she'd rather drink out of the toilet than do that. Isaribi thought. She and Naruto and the other selected girls watched this intensely. Hinata pulled Dosu's face close to her own, and then vomited all over him. In mere moments Dosu was covered in it and had to step back. Ah yuck. He yelled as he tried to wipe the stuff off of him. I don't know if I should be relieved or grossed out. Naruto thought, but he did lightly smile nonetheless. Enko struggled not to laugh. At a girl. Oh, that's so disgusting. Sakura said, looking away. With Dosu distracted, Hinata got up to her feet, holding her stomach and wiping her mouth. I hope that was everything. He's not going to fall for that a second time. She came up to him and readied herself. 5 trigrams 64 needles. She moved like a normal Hyuga would, striking first twice, then 4 times, then 8 times, then 16 times, then 32 times, and finally 64 times. Dosu took them all with his melody gauntlet barely providing any cover the time, and fell backwards. He could still move, and now with his face cleaned he could see again, but he was on his last legs. Damn. I've probably got enough left for one last attack. Do I go for it, or play dead and accept defeat? Genma watched on, waiting for any sign the maimed Oto Genin would be able to get back up. He saw the boy struggle, but he couldn't seem to lift himself anymore. Dosu Kinuta is unable to continue. Winner, Hinata Hibiki. Many cheers went out for the white-eyed girl, but none of them came from the Hyugas. Not that she cared in the slightest what they thought. Hinata smiled at her boyfriend and made a V with her fingers, which he returned. That was pretty impressive if I do say so myself. The Kazekage told his fellow village leaders. I like how she turned his attack against him. Tsunade commented. What do you mean by that? Yamato asked. It's obvious those sound attacks made her nauseous, so she made sure to put him in a place where she could use that upset feeling as an advantage rather than a disadvantage. Quite clever and unexpected if you ask me, albeit a bit unorthodox, but hey, ninjas are supposed to fight dirty. Yamato chuckled. Yeah, and that was quite dirty. Outside that, I'm surprised someone with a Byakugan raised outside of Konoha could fight so well. Sarutobi noted, curious on what the Oto representative would say on the matter. She's had quite some time to train in this unique style, given the generations before her. Yamato said, well aware of the cover for Hinata's background. The truth was Hinata, Hanabi, and Naruto with his Neo-Byakugan were the first ones learning the Sarutoken. Hitomi had come up with the theory behind it, and showed them some moves based off the Juken to use it with, but true credit for creating the Sarutoken went to the 3 kids who trained in it for 10 years by now. Her presence has caused quite a commotion in the Hyuga clan this past month. Sarutobi added. I can imagine so. I already had to arrest one of them for trying to abduct her, as per the international Chunin exam laws. Now the clan is asking for a way to trade for her. Yamato and Tsunade arched an eyebrow, but only Yamato actually looked at the Hokage. Trade for her. As in I give you her if you give me one of your ninja. Would you be interested? The old man asked. Oh, that was a bad thing to say, sensei. Tsunade told herself, struggling to not hit something right then. Hypothetically speaking, if I were to agree to such a thing, who would I gain in exchange? And how would this help the girl's clan back home? Yamato asked to see what the old man's answer would be. He had no intention of making such a deal, but he felt this would be good blackmail material for later. Well, how does the last Uchiha in Konoha sound to you? What's your angle, sensei? Tsunade asked herself. I know the spoiled brat is useless in your eyes now, but as far as you know no one else outside Konoha knows he's without the Sharingan. Surely you know offering him would look suspicious, or are you and this village truly giving up on him? Judging from the look on Yamato's face, she could tell he was thinking along similar lines. Why would you be willing to give away an heir to such an important clan, for any reason? And you still have yet to explain how this benefits the girl or her own clan. Why should the Hyuga benefit here but not the Hibiki? Well, I'm certain the girl can get more informed training regarding her eyes and ancestry if she came here, and her clan could feel safe knowing the rest of the Hyuga would not hunt them down and eliminate them out of spite if this happened. As for the heir, wouldn't a small village such as yours love to be able to say you have member of such a prosperous clan in your ranks? Sarutobi explained smoothly, talking like a true politician. Oh, that is complete crap. Tsunade thought, spoken like someone who listened to a true politician. So would you accept the offer? Sarutobi asked. Yamato waved him off. I was speaking hypothetically, Hokage-sama. I alone cannot make such a decision, especially without consulting the Hibikis. At least keep it in mind, will you? Oh, I will. Excuse me please, but I need to go use the restroom and get another drink while I'm at it. Tsunade said as she stepped out of the cage box. Hinata wobbled up to her team, still smiling and feeling a bit sick to her stomach. I better brush my teeth soon or I won't be able to kiss Naru-kun anytime soon. She thought before holding down another taste of bile. Before any of the Oto nin could approach her, an Anbu agent did. Excuse me miss, but you don't look so well. You should probably go to the infirmary and get looked at. I can lead you if you don't know where it is. It was a good thing Hinata was queasy because she could not contain her groan. Seriously. Someone actually thought I'd be stupid enough to accept this offer. I'm insulted. Kabuto showed up. Thank you for the offer, but I'm this girl's physician, so I'll be checking her. The Anbu had to pause to think up a good reply. In that time, Kabuto tried to lead Hinata away. Seeing he was about to lose his chance, the Anbu resorted to blurting something out. It would be better for her to see a real physician. Kabuto frowned and adjusted his glasses. Sir, do not mock my skills in caring for the ninja from my own village, and do not interfere with matters that do not concern you. All she likely has is a case of nausea with disbalance, easily treatable outside an infirmary. Let me do my job in peace and go back to your own. The Anbu's expression could not be seen through the mask, but Kabuto was certain he was annoyed. Very well. He then disappeared in a leaf shushin. He was probably sent by the Hyugas or the Hokage to abduct me, wasn't he? Hinata asked, more for confirmation than for an answer. Highly likely. Fortunately he could not do that without causing a fuss. Kabuto replied. Now lay down and I'll see what I can do. Final match of the first round. Would Gaara Sabaku and Rock Lee please come down here? Genma called out. Damn, my voice is getting tired from all this announcing. I sure wish Hayate-san didn't have that indigestion today so he could do this as scheduled. Or for that matter that I hadn't been in Hokage-sama's office when he found out Hayate needed a replacement. Just my luck. The two named genin came down into the arena, Gaara by using a sand shunshin and Lee by jumping over the edge of the wall that separated the arena from the stadium seats. Gaara's gourd was uncorked and he looked ready to fight. Lee stretched his legs and arms and looked ready to prove himself. He's supposed to be a fast target and a heavy hitter, and from what Subsonic-san told me he is incapable of performing jutsu for some reason. I suspect my sand may have difficulty at times with apprehending him, but I shouldn't have too much trouble. The raccoon-eyed boy told himself. From what I saw in Tenten-chan's match, he uses sand for attack and defense. And he has enough control over it to do multiple things with it. But he looks slow and not accustomed to taking hits. If I can land a few good hits to him directly, I will surely win. The green-clad genin thought. Ready. Begin. Genma called out. I must strike now before he calls his sand out to block me with. Lee thought as he ran up to Gaara to hit him with a solid punch. He pulled his right fist back then threw it forward to hit Gaara roughly around the collarbone region, but sand came out of the gourd immediately to block it. The sand, it moved almost as if it were alive. Lee thought, amazed by the absolution of the defensive properties the sand displayed. He pulled his arm back before the sand could engulf his hand. As Lee back away, Gaara had his sand pour out of his gourd and cover the ground around him, spreading out to give him a vast amount to use right away. Lee was cautious, knowing this would limit his chances of landing any hits on his opponent. When the sand stopped spreading, it rose up to create a field of spikes pointing in all directions. He has quite a defense built up to prevent close attacks, but leaves himself open to ranged attacks. Lee analyzed, seeing Gaara still standing where he did before with his arms crossed. He looks as if he's testing me, like he wants to see my reaction. Well, I won't disappoint him, that's for sure. Lee didn't usually carry weapons on him, preferring his body be his weapon itself. But this was the Chunin exams and he had to come prepared. He reached into his weapon pouch and pulled out a few kunai before throwing them at Gaara. A wall of sand rose to provide cover while Lee ran over the sand spikes to get closer. Gaara waved his arms to make the spikes move in an attempt to hit him. As I suspected, his control is not limited to one action at a time. He is a worthy opponent. Lee thought as he nimbly dodged the sand skewers coming from all directions. His dodges made him look like an acrobat, and he made sure to punch or kick a few of them to avoid actually being hit. The sand he hit crumbled but the points always reformed. In no time Lee was close enough to jump over Gaara's sand wall and land behind him. Once Lee landed, Gaara turned around and threw his own fist, hitting Lee in the jaw. Temari, Kankuro, and the Cage watched that in sheer surprise. Did that just happen? I've never seen Gaara actually attack someone directly like that. Lee's endurance made him able to withstand this attack easily, and he countered with his own hit to Gaara's face. Gaara's endurance wasn't as high and he faltered in his standing for a time before his sand held him upright. He hit Gaara. The other Sunanin asked themselves. Gaara's face showed some cracks on it, confusing Lee. He looked carefully and saw grains of sand moving to repair the crack. He's wearing sand over his skin. Doesn't that hinder him or cost him a lot of chakra to maintain? Gaara threw another punch, but Lee was better at hand-to-hand combat than the Suna Jinchuriki was. Lee could tell this and settled for just blocking the hit. Why is he attacking me like this rather than with his preferred method? Is he testing himself too? Far be it for me to deny him a chance to improve his skills. Lee added a sideswipe kick with his left leg to test Gaara's reaction. A tendril of sand rose up and caught his leg before it could hit Gaara, and it would not let go. It covered his entire foot and shin, and felt like it was compressing tightly. Startled, Lee tried to hit it with his left fist to remove it, but the sand engulfed his left hand and forearm as well with a separate tendril and constricted around it. Two more rose up from the ground to trap his other limbs, effectively holding him in place spread eagle. Gaara grinned at seeing his opponent trapped. You'll make a good test subject for my new attack. He held out his right hand and sand came up into the palm, swirling around to create an orb that kept spinning. Sand Rasengan. Rasengan. Sarutobi asked himself. Naruto smiled. So you did create that technique you told me I gave you an idea for. Not bad, Gaara. Although your taijutsu still needs some work, but we'll work on that later. Gaara slammed the spinning sand ball into Lee's abdomen. The motion of the attack tore open his jumpsuit and greatly irritated his exposed skin before cutting it open. The damage ended there because the jutsu did too. Damn, I still can't maintain the form properly for more than a few seconds. Using pure chakra like Naruto does is so much easier than using a solid substance. Gaara thought. He then released Lee, who collapsed briefly but got back on his feet right away, covering his shallow wound as best he could. Lee groaned, hoping his wound wouldn't get infected. You're good. I guess I'll have to fight unrestrained then. He reached down into his orange leg warmers and pulled out several rods wrapped together. That's better. Now I can move much more freely. He then dropped them, and a very loud thud resulted in them hitting the ground, not to mention the two craters created by them. The impact even made some of Gaara's sand structures such as the nearby spikes in the wall Lee had jumped over collapse. Holy crap. He carries that much weight on him. And still can move that fast. Sakura asked, barely able to believe what her eyes told her. Almost everyone except Lee's team had similar thoughts. Gaara seemed aware of the implications of removing such weights and moved his sand to trap Lee right away. Lee ran around to behind Gaara, moving so far he was just a green blur. He ran fast enough that the sand spikes still surrounding Gaara crumbled before him, unable to hurt him at all. Once behind his opponent, the green-clad genin ran right at him for a sneak attack. Gaara turned around just moments before Lee could hit a blind spot. Lee performed a dynamic entry-style kick to Gaara's shoulder, knocking him forward. At the same time, he unwrapped some of his bandages from his arms and wrapped them around Gaara. The redhead boy couldn't escape and was tied up like one of Kankuro's puppets. Primary Lotus. Lee declared as he pulled Gaara's bound bod close to him and threw it up into the air with a solid kick. Once up he jumped up to join Gaara. Secondary Lotus. He proceeded to kick Gaara again to make his fall to the ground that much harder. His opponent ended up making another crater. How can someone not even using jutsu or weapons be able to do this to Gaara? Kankuro asked, astounded but also worried for his brother. Temari looked skeptical. This is too easy for him. Gaara must be holding back, letting him get a few hits in. If Gaara wasn't, this guy wouldn't be standing right now. Gaara, what are you planning? Lee landed on his feet like a cat and looked to see the extent of the damage he had caused. When he peered into the crater, he saw the bandages unfurl, but underneath them was not what he had expected to see. It was a hollow shell of sand that resembled Gaara but with many body parts broken off, especially the face. Did he use a substitution with the sand? Sand started to bubble up from the ground around him, then crumbled away to reveal Gaara, not looking too pleased. Is that all you can fight me with? A few kicks and punches. Do you not have more to offer? Even though Gaara was informed Lee could not use jutsu, he still hoped to see more out of the green-clad genin than just taijutsu alone. He wanted to see this guy's abilities before he went all out. Tamari asked herself. Is that why he used some direct moves himself too? To test this guy's reactions. Probably not the best idea, Otuto. Gaara extended his right hand then swept it from sand shuriken. Discs of sand emerged from the ground and flew right towards Lee. The green-clad genin easily dodged them but many more shot out, forcing him to stay on the move. Sorry I took so long. I couldn't find any sake right away. Tsunade said as she returned to the cage box with a sake-filled gourd in her hand. Did I miss anything good? Nothing much. The boy from Suna is putting up a good fight and seems to have the boy from Konoha on the ropes. Yamato answered. He better win. Sarutobi thought in regards to Lee. He's the only genin from Konoha left. If he doesn't advance, it'll reflect badly on us. But I can't just disqualify the Kage's son without legitimate reason. Nor can I just promote the genin that did participate just for show. This must not be a good year for Konoha. I only hope it doesn't get worse. Orochimaru. A slug the size of a house cat said as it appeared before the snake Sanin. I bring word from Tsunade-sama. Is it time? Jiraiya asked. Just about. The last match of the first round is underway. She recommends beginning before the second round can commence. Orochimaru nodded. That's what I intended all along. Anything else? Yes, you may find this of interesting note. The Hokage has actually requested your substitute to trade genin between the villages. Specifically, the Hokage wants you to give young Hinata to Konoha and would give you the last Uchiha in exchange. Orochimaru glared but not at the slug. Oh, your ass is going to be kicked for that sensei. Jiraiya nodded. Agreed. Sure, we know the Uchiha will regain his Sharingan soon enough, but they don't. So what he's planning is, in his eyes, a completely one-sided beneficial trade. Exactly. That's one more insult too many to the people we care about. Orochimaru stated, earning another nod from his teammate. He looked at the slug. There's probably no way to inform Tsunade-chan now to be ready without alerting the old man, so don't return to her just yet. We'll get ready to begin in a matter of moments. Understood, sir. The slug said before disappearing. So what are we waiting for? Jiraiya asked. Orochimaru smiled. The final preparation. And then we strike. Enko felt a sudden presence of weight in her left pocket and it started to move up her body under her clothes. She immediately recognized the feel as a summoned snake. Jisun must have a message. She told herself, showing no awareness of anything other than the fight in the arena she was watching. Careful to not be seen, the snake stopped before it could poke its head out from under her jacket. Orochimaru-sama says it's time to prepare the sedations. Enko barely smiled. Will do. She whispered, and the snake disappeared. Kabuto-kun, Kurenai-chan, we've got work to do. She whispered to them so no one would overhear them. Enko walked away first, then Kurenai followed but went in a different direction, and soon Kabuto walked away too. No one who saw thought anything of it. Sand Kanai. Gaara called out, trying a new attack in hopes of hitting Lee. Spikes of sand formed from the ground around him and fired at the green-clad genin who had been dodging all of Gaara's methods so far but hadn't yet been able to return any attacks. Lee now was using a previously hidden set of nunchaku to deflect the sand projectiles. Damn it, it's almost like he doesn't know any jutsu other than taijutsu. I had hoped to impress Otu-sama here by showing some taijutsu I bothered to learn and showing how my sand can work against enemy jutsus, but I can't do that here. I should just end this now. Gaara thought. You are a worthy opponent. Lee complimented. You are talented to keep up with me like this, but I grow bored. Gaara replied. He extended his right hand with an open fist, as if he was trying to grasp some sort of invisible bar. Sand coffin. Lee saw and felt a large amount of sand rise up around him and beneath him. He tried to jump away but the sand followed like a predator. Unable to dodge in midair, Lee tried to fight it but touching the sand only trapped him sooner. Quite quickly Lee was encased all the way up to his neck. He did this to Tenten-chan too. The sand is so compact I can't get out. Lee thought. I may have one way to escape though. Guy-sensei, do not be upset over what I must do. He closed his eyes briefly and everyone could feel his chakra spike. Gaara regained his interest, at least somewhat. Is he finally preparing something worth fighting against? First gate of opening open. Lee yelled as he began opening the 8 chakra gates, allowing his chakra to surge throughout his entire body and strengthen his muscles. The sand around him started to crack and break off but it still held. Second gate of rest open. Lee said as he continued his last resort. Now the sand struggled even more to contain the taijutsu enthusiast. Enko, Kurenai, and Kabuto watched this with interest from the roof of the stadium. If this keeps up, he may harm Gaara. We need him unharmed to make this work as well as we want it to, along with Naruto and Fu. We should probably get started now then. Ready? Kurenai asked. Enko and Kabuto nodded. Let's do this thing. All three of them began a set of hand signs. Sand burial. Gaara said, closing his fist in an effort to restrain Lee further. I'm not sure if this will kill him or not, but it should knock him out or stop whatever he's doing. Besides, it's likely he would have been a casualty soon anyway. The sudden increase in pressure from the sand began to get to Lee and he knew if he didn't get out soon he was going to be crushed to death. Third gate of life open. His chakra practically surged around him like a storm and his skin turned red with bulging veins in random places. A closer look and one would swear his pupils disappeared too. Screaming, Lee was finally able to shatter the sand encasement around him despite Gaara's expert control of it. But he didn't move right away. Rather he momentarily stood still, as if getting used to this surge of power. During that one moment, something unexpected happened. Feathers started to fall over the entire area. Gaara smiled. It's time. The invasion was now underway. What is the meaning of this? Sarutobi asked when he saw a genjutsu being applied to the stadium. People unprepared for this, and there were quite a few of those, were caught in it and forced to fall asleep. Most of these were civilians and nobles, the types who couldn't recognize a genjutsu even if their lives depended on it because they had no training for it. Most of the ninja saw it begin to take effect but only half of them at most could stop it from affecting them. They would need the other half to get them out of it right away. Tsunade smiled. Belated justice, sensei. That certainly drew Sarutobi's attention away from the developing crisis. What the? Are you in on this, Tsunade? The slug Sanin grinned at him and cracked her knuckles. More than you might imagine, you lousy bastard. It was hard to tell what was more disturbing for Sarutobi, her words or the way she was saying them. Tsunade didn't look or sound angry aside from making a fist. Nope, she looked like she was going to enjoy this more than she enjoyed drinking. Sarutobi tried to stand up but he saw his body was bound down, particularly his wrists and feet. He looked and saw gold sand acting as shackles. What is going on here? The Yondaime Kazekage grinned, revealing the suddenly visible rings around his eyes. Payback, for what you've done and tried to do. And you're not the only one. We're getting a pound of flesh from old man. Yamato added. Anbu. Sarutobi shouted. We're under attack. The Kazekage used his gold dust to create a wall to buy them some time and keep the Anbu away. In the process this allowed Sarutobi to break free, but he didn't mind. He wanted the old man to put up a bit of a fight before they punished him. Yamato spoke into a hidden microphone in his face plate. Guardians 2, 3, 4, and 5, my position now. Box us in. Guardian 1, provide them cover and bring you know who. Sarutobi jumped back and took off his Hokage robes, revealing his classical ninja outfit complete with armor. What is the meaning of all this? Looks like we're not the only ones who were prepared for a fight. Tsunade said, cracking her knuckles. Tsunade, explain yourself. What is going on here? Sarutobi sternly demanded. I told you sensei, this is justice. You would betray your own village. Tsunade laughed. I haven't even set foot in Konoha for over a decade. How can you call this my village? Besides, I may have been born here, but this isn't my home. My home, and my allegiance, is Otogakur. Sarutobi narrowed his eyes at Yamato, who had discarded his Otokage robes in favor of an ordinary Junin outfit. Otokage, you won't get away with this. Yamato chuckled. You're wrong about two things, old man. We will get away with this, and I'm not the real Otokage. He should be here right about now. With that, several figures got past Kage's gold dust barrier and landed by the three facing the old Hokage. Four of these figures didn't stay long and got into a square position around the group, performing a rapid set of hand signs. As they did, one more figure and Yamato departed, leaving only 5 people before Sarutobi, including Tsunade and the Yondaime Kage. The old man could hardly believe what he was seeing. Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Kushina, the three aforementioned shinobi, standing beside Tsunade, all nodded, none looking happy. Hello Sarutobi-sensei. Orochimaru said. You have no idea how much we're looking forward to this little reunion. Back in the arena, Lee appeared to be too active to fall victim to the genjutsu that was affecting everyone except those from Oto and Suna. Looks like I'll have to knock him out myself. Gaara thought as sand formed in his hands to form a spear with an odd-shaped head. Ultimate offense Shukaku spear. He said as it formed, then he threw it. The spear did knock Lee back, but it looked like it barely damaged him thanks to having 3 gates open. Lee acted like he was simply delayed and got ready to charge at the Suna Genin again, completely unaware that an invasion was happening around him. The overwhelming chakra was probably the only reason the genjutsu hadn't affected him yet. When Lee took 2 steps, he suddenly fell face first on the ground with a heavy thud, leaving an imprint of his body in the ground. Gaara's eyes widened. What the hell? Naruto showed up next to him. Sorry to interfere like that, but there's no point in wasting time here. We've got serious fights to do. Gaara smiled and retracted all his sand. Thanks, old friend. Now let's go kick some serious ass. Naruto exclaimed before deactivating his gravity control, which he used to subdue Lee, then jumping away. Gaara followed and so did the others in their group. Up in the stands, Sakura had managed to break free of the genjutsu before it took full effect on her, but she didn't see a lot of people around her that had been as lucky. She got up and ran to her friends, who had escaped or been released from it by other ninja, but was stopped by Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura, go to the infirmary and see if Kiba is active or not. Come back here with or without him after you find out, and then I'll tell you what to do. He ordered before turning around to fight an approaching Suna Nin. Sakura silently nodded before running to where her teammate was supposed to be. Down in the hallway ahead of her, she heard some rough fighting going on. Sounds like a dog is involved, but it doesn't sound like Akamaru. Does the enemy have dogs too? She hid behind a corner and carefully looked around it, seeing an older man with Inuzuka marks and a large white dog fighting a ninja she didn't recognize and couldn't see any symbols on. Soon it looked like the enemy was about to win, so thinking quickly, Sakura pulled out a kunai and threw it at the foreign ninja's back. She meant to aim for his spine, but she instead hit the back of his neck. He jerked and grew rigid before the Inuzuka managed to land a lethal blow. Did I just kill someone? Sakura asked herself, starting to breath heavily. I did. I'm a murderer. Thanks for your help. The Inuzuka called out. Sakura stepped forward. Don't thank me, I'm a murderer. She sounded like she expected to have her head chopped off for this. The Inuzuka shook his head. Do you know what the difference is between a shinobi and a true murderer? Sakura, confused, shook her head negatively. Shinobi kill because it's required of them and know why it must be done. Murderers kill because they enjoy it and don't need a reason beyond that. You didn't enjoy it, so you're not a murderer. But I just killed a man. This must be your first kill. It's always hard on us. My first kill haunted me for at least a week. But let's talk later. Can you look after my son while I go check for more threats? Sakura nodded. Thanks. If you need to talk about this, contact me when this is over. I'll be glad to help you get through this. For now, you don't have time to be hesitant. He then left. With some hesitation, Sakura pulled her kunai out of the fallen ninja's neck and went to Kiba's room. So that guy was Kiba's father. He's not what I expected at all. She opened the door and saw Kiba putting his shoes on. Kiba, someone's attacking the village. If you can fight, come with me to the stadium. I'm on it, he said as he stood up and Akamaru jumped on his head. Both genin then ran back towards the fight. I sure hope I can do this. Both thought. A few Konoha Junin landed behind Kurenai, Kabuto, and Anko, but those three had finished their genjutsu so they were able to turn around and face their opposition. Standing before them were Sume, Ibiki, and Asuma, looking ready for a fight. Kabuto smirked. A little small for a fight to be here, wouldn't you say? He then jumped away. Anko and Kurenai were about to follow, but shuriken from Ibiki stopped them momentarily. You two aren't going anywhere. Sume-san, go track the runaway. The Inuzuka matriarch and her partner Kuromaru went after Kabuto. Ibiki half expected to see some small amount of concern on the two women's faces now, but they showed none, just confident grins. As if they had planned for Kabuto to draw one of them away. Anko and Kurenai rushed forward to fight the two men. Anko took Ibiki as her target, and Kurenai took Asuma. The Oto and Suna genin teamed up and branched out, each sticking to their own teams to maximize effectiveness. Their senseis had already told them to act without supervision here and follow 5 orders, stop as many Konoha shinobi as possible, use lethal force only if necessary, don't drag civilians into it if possible, don't reveal anything about Oto, and retreat immediately upon command. Naruto, Fu, and Gaara were given one extra command, feel free to use the Biju Chakra if needed. Naruto, Hinata, and Isaribi stayed near the stadium, waiting to take part in something Orochimaru had planned for later. Naruto, I will have need of you in my ultimate plan to destroy the old man and completely demoralize this wretched village. Fight with your teammates at first, but keep yourself braced for when I call you. Do as I say and victory will be all but assured. The Snake Sanin had told the disguised Jinchuriki the day before he left for the Chunin exams. So now, Naruto fought beside 2 of his girls ready to take down the old man that had set up his life for misery in the village that went along like a dog on a leash. Hinata fought with him to get back at the family she had nothing but bad memories of and knew beyond all doubt what they would do if they succeeded in what they planned for her or, heaven forbid, if they found out she had a sister. Isaribi fought because she knew someone in Konoha named Danzo had made it possible for Amachi to kill her parents and turn her into a lab rat, and the man had many supporters who tried to shift all slander at him onto Orochimaru, who was now viewed as the symbol of treachery in Konoha thanks to propaganda. As far as Konoha was concerned, Orochimaru had turned traitor and had burned down everything he created to avoid any paper trail and destroy any evidence. But the noble Sarutobi had caught him in an attempt to escape, and the only reason he failed to stop the Snake Sanin was the 2 demon children Orochimaru watched over tried to kill the old man, forcing him to kill a young Naruto and Anko in the process and thus saving Konoha from the Kyuubi once and for all. Sarutobi told people that the 2 children were already dead, but most people thought he really meant, as good as dead when he got there. Danzo had turned this into an opportunity for himself. The truth was that he had stolen funds from the R&D department by convincing Orochimaru that these funds would go to testing new ninja possibilities, but all they went to were funds for Root and the start of the Curse Seal. Orochimaru managed to stop Danzo from gaining anything from Amachi, but the Warhawk had plans of his own. He told everyone that Orochimaru had been the one behind the inhumane testing and the creation of a seal that would threaten a ninja's sense of loyalty and morality. Danzo took credit for finding it by providing a few forged documents between the two, edited to say that Orochimaru had stolen members of his disbanded Root and even their families to experiment on, while Danzo himself was told that they were simply being deprogrammed to reintegrate into normal shinobi again. Thanks to this lie and generated sympathy from it, Danzo had been made the new head of R&D and then later also Uchiha clan representative when that clan had been destroyed. Subsonic had informed the Sanin of this. Because of this, Danzo became as much a target in this invasion as Sarutobi had been. They had to settle for striking Sarutobi first because he would be the easier to get to. So their armies were instructed to go after Danzo and take down anyone in their way. In a manner of speaking, this invasion was being done for 3 reasons. 1. To remove Sarutobi from office since he had abused his power and attempted to do things he had no business in doing. 2. To eliminate Danzo before he rallied enough support to pose a serious threat to Oto. And 3. To humble the foolish population, both shinobi and civilian, for allowing their biases to cloud their judgment in certain regards or in some cases dominate it. At the moment that was unimportant, all the three genin could think about was surviving here and kicking some leaf ass. And as expected, the first group to come their direction in this chaos was composed of Hyuga. They just don't learn, do they? Hinata snidely commented to her friends. You're coming with us, traitor. One of the Hyuga demanded. Cooperate, and you may be able to see the light of day again. Hinata scoffed and got into her stance. How can I betray you when I was never a part of your clan in the first place? Your cover story may have worked on everyone else, but we see through it. A female Hyuga said. We checked the records for more than just the name you gave us. We found out that 10 years ago a Hinata Hyuga disappeared and was never seen again. If she was still alive, she'd be your age. We find you having her name and our eyes to be too much of a coincidence. Naruto defensively stepped in front of Hinata. Big deal. Whether you're right or not, it doesn't matter because you never raised her. You cannot make demands of her and never will. Then we're just going to have to kill her and you. No one gets away with thinking they can humiliate us. An older Hyuga with graying hair venomously decreed. I can. Naruto said, activating one of his bloodlines. Dosu, Zaku, and Kin ran across the rooftops in an effort to lead some pursuing Konoha Chunin away from the stadium. They weren't having much luck, but thankfully Zaku was capable of running and attacking behind himself at the same time to keep them at bay a bit. Dosu and Kin had to avoid attacking in order to focus more on their surroundings. We need to get them off our asses. Kin told her teammates. You think we don't know that? Dosu snapped at her. Do you have any suggestions or do you just want to be pissy, Mr. Barfbag? Kin snapped back, making Dosu practically growl in anger. Guys, I can't do this forever. Zaku stated impatiently. The trio had to jump over a gap between two buildings. During the jump, Kin twisted in the air and threw a few kunai at her pursuers. The throwing knives hit them all in their feet, exactly where she had been aiming for. This meant once they landed, they wouldn't be able to chase the Oto genin quite as effectively anymore until they removed the kunais. Even most experienced shinobi couldn't maneuver that well with pierced feet. Most would say Kin was a genjutsu specialist, and to a point she was. But Kin's true specialty was in throwing weapons. She was practically the Oto equivalent of Tenten. Had she been serious in her fight against Shino in the preliminaries, he would have lost a lot of blood rather than get exposed to her genjutsu or gotten his Hitai 8 torn. Kin twisted around again to land facing forward and keep running. Thank you Naruto-kun for helping me here. Flashback. A 10-year-old Kin was in one of Oto's training grounds practicing her taijutsu on some posts. She tried her hardest to ignore the pain she felt from each hit and continued punching the wooden beam. After an especially hard one, she had to stop and grasp her hand, crying out now that she could no longer suppress the pain. Hey! You okay? A boy's voice called out to her. Through teary eyes Kin looked to see a boy with blonde hair heading towards her. I'm fine. Beat it. I can do this. The boy noticed the way she held her right hand. Can I at least see your hand? Kin winced but held it forward for him to see. That doesn't look good. I think you cracked a bone or two. Come with me so it can be healed. Kin dropped her head and sighed as if defeated. Fine. It's not like I'm getting any better anyway. What makes you say that? Kin glared at the newcomer. Because I have nothing to help me. I'm not from a ninja family. My entire family is civilians and I wanted to be the first ninja in my family. But everyone says that my background means I can never become a good one since I have nothing from my family to help me out. No clan style, no keke genkai, no hidden secrets, I've got nothing and everyone says nothing is all I'll ever be. So. Kin blinked in surprise but still looked angry, albeit a little less now. So. What do you mean? It's obvious you don't believe them since you're out here practicing and trying to become stronger. So why do you care what they say? If you really believed all that nonsense, you wouldn't be training to be a ninja. You'd be at home with your parents learning what they do. Shut up. Kin bitterly said. I think you know those people are wrong. You're just saying what they're saying to make yourself feel better for not being as strong as you want to be. The boy added. Well sorry for not being privileged like you clan boy. Kin spat. My name's Naruto and my family is dead. The blonde told her, making her drop her cynicism. My birth family at least. The family I do have is made up of people who care about me but none of them are blood related to me. I have nothing to learn from my parents either. I'm sorry for assuming things. I just thought those lines on your face were a clan trait. Don't sweat it. You're not the first to assume that, and you're probably not the only person I'll encounter who assumes they've got it worse than others. Naruto told her. Are you training to be a ninja too? Kin asked. Naruto nodded. How do you do it? I have people to teach me so I don't learn on my own. Ji-san says being self-taught can only take you so far. They can't teach me everything they know, but they can teach me taijutsu, chakra control, and weaponry. Weaponry? Kin asked. Naruto nodded. Yeah, that's something you might do well in. Even a civilian can throw a knife and hit the mark. Try that rather than trying to break your hands on logs. Oh, you should still see a doctor about that too. Kin looked at her hand momentarily, having forgotten the pain, then back at the blonde boy. Would you help me? Could I learn from you? Naruto smiled. Sure. I can't help every day but I will help when I can. What's your name? Kin. Kin Suchi. Nice to meet you Kin-chan. End flashback. Ever since that day, you've been the source of my strength. Kin thought. You made me realize that even if I lack the advantages others have, it doesn't mean I have none at all. And now thanks to you, I've got better aim than a sniper. That's my advantage. Kin then looked behind herself to see the pursuing Chunin and looked at their feet. Coming to a stop, she performed two hand signs. Illusion art blind skin jutsu. Nobody saw anything different happen. Kin babe, what are you doing? We gotta get out of here. Zaku said after he turned around to get her. I'm done, she said before pulling out some shuriken and throwing them at the Konoha ninja. The pursuers, now free of the kunais in their feet, continued the chase. You're fast, but your aim sucks. That's what I want you to think. Kin thought with a smile as she threw a few senbon at them during the run. Temari and Kankuro had been ordered by their sensei Baki to go cover Gaara while he helped eliminate the bulk of Konoha's gathering army. It had been decided beforehand that Gaara had the most responsibility out of the three Jinchuriki for one main reason. He was the only one among them that could use his Biju's full potential. Neither Naruto or Fu could use their demons like Gaara could, and he had no problem with getting his hands dirty in a fight. Fu's ability was really better suited to fighting one person at a time, and given Naruto's time limits on his various Kekkei Genkai, he would always need someone to cover him in between uses. Gaara however had no such restrictions and thus was allowed to fight however he desired. It was fortunate Jiraiya had improved his seal and his sanity years ago, or everyone in the immediate area would be at risk for death then. Temari and Kankuro were needed to allow Gaara to have enough time to build up his sand attacks properly. They would defend him while he readied himself to create a faux Shukaku to demoralize and crush Konoha. Right now they were running into the forest surrounding Konoha, jumping through the branches to avoid interference as much as possible, but they were still being followed. Wind-style great breakthrough. Temari said as she swung her fan and generated a cluster of wind blades that flew forward. It didn't hit the Konoha forces, but it did damage the trees ahead of them, making it harder for them to follow them now. That was what she had wanted anyway. The more delayed the enemy were, the more time the Suna siblings had to ready themselves and get into more strategic positions. Kankuro was currently unable to contribute much in the effort. Using his puppet would require more focus on the fight than the run, so he would have to stop and face the group alone if he did fight. However, he was able to throw some tagged kunai in the trees as he ran through them to create additional obstacles too, but he was running out. Temari, I think I better stop here and fight directly. You go with Gaara to help him. The cloaked boy told his sister. What? No way, Kankuro. The three of us always fight together. I wasn't asking. Kankuro said before coming to a stop and turned around, unwrapping his puppet Karasu. As he did, Temari and Gaara showed up on both sides. Neither was I. Temari proclaimed. Haku, Fu, and Sasama were running through the streets. Their plan was simple and shared by several of their comrades. Divert Konoha's attention away from the stadium and cause damage within the city itself. Granted, this put themselves at risk, but they were at risk the minute they set foot in Konoha. The three kunoichi had managed to get away unnoticed and hid in an alley. Okay, what do we do? Sasama asked. Fortunately we're not being chased right now. I think we've got time to plan out a trap or ambush. Fu suggested. Got any ideas? Haku asked. Give me a minute on that. I have one but I want to save that as a last resort, so I'm trying to think up another. The green-haired Jinchuriki answered. Think fast. We won't be unnoticed for long. Sasama claimed. Sarutobi could barely believe what he saw. His three students stood before him looking at him like he was Hanzo back from the grave. Kushina glared at him as if he had been the one to kill Minato, and the Kazekage gave him a cold unforgiving look, as if he believed the Hokage deserved this. Surrounding them were four Junin-clothed shinobi in a rectangular formation creating some sort of box-like barrier around them that incinerated anyone who came in contact with it. Why are you doing this? Sarutobi asked, hoping to get some understanding here. It's rather simple, Sarutobi. You don't deserve to be in charge anymore, and since time won't get rid of you, we will. We hope that with you no longer in charge, Konoha will become what Minato died to preserve. Orochimaru answered. Save your breath, Otokage-sama. He'll never accept what you're saying. Kushina stated. Otokage-sama. So Orochimaru is the true leader of the village. Is that what he's been doing all these years? And did Jiraiya know about it but refused to inform me? Sarutobi asked himself. True, Kushina, but we might as well give him something to think about as he spends eternity in darkness. Orochimaru replied. Jiraiya, Tsunade, did you know this would happen? The old man asked, already aware of their answer but wanting to hear the depth of their involvement. We know a lot more than that, sensei. Jiraiya said. We know you lied to us about our godson. We know you told us what you did to keep us both away from him so our influence wouldn't conflict with what you had planned for him. We know you only allowed Orochimaru to watch over him because someone had to and you didn't want to make him suspicious by allowing a baby to go untreated. We also know you lied to us and the others in Konoha about Iwa as an excuse to hide Minato's son from the public. Sarutobi looked a bit nervous. Kazekage stepped forward. I also know you wanted my son to go crazy by hoping I'd drive him to the brink of insanity and he would destroy my village from the inside. As far as I'm concerned, the peace treaty between our villages is null and void. Tsunade cracked her knuckles. Don't bother denying it, sensei. We've seen the documents and made copies of them all. We've also shared them with Suna and Iwa. We know all your secrets, but what we don't know is why. Why? You dare ask me why I do as I do. I'm your superior, you do not question my decisions, you follow them. I taught you that back when you three were bickering genins. Orochimaru frowned. So you show no remorse for what you've done, only anger at being caught and forced to explain yourself. Don't act like you're any better than me. If you were, you wouldn't be doing this invasion just to punish me. You wouldn't drag all of Konoha into it. Sarutobi replied. Jiraiya smirked. Who said you were the only one we had dirt on? The leaf has gotten diseased under your leadership and it's time to trim the tree, and you're not the only branch we're going to clip off. You're just the first douchebag to go. Kushina said, her once violet eyes now red with slits thanks to her chakra capable of slightly mimicking that of the Kyuubi. How are you even still alive, Kushina? Sarutobi asked loudly. You were supposed to be dead 13 years ago. Supposed to be. Kushina repeated, arching an eyebrow as she did. My living is an inconvenience to you. Of course it is, Kushina. Orochimaru told her. Had you been able to care for Naruto, he wouldn't have been able to get away with doing anything to your son. People would have been more likely to believe he was a normal boy rather than a demon in human form and you would have been able to tell everyone who his father is. Sensei wouldn't have a chance at breaking Naruto's spirit and molding him as he saw fit. The one good thing about his reaction is that it shows he's not the one who held her in wave. That had to be someone else. Jiraiya thought. Are we going to just stand here talking about why we're here, or are we going to do what we came here to do? Kazekage asked, sounding more than a bit impatient. You're right, Kazekage-sama, no more wasting time. Tsunade said. Kakashi had been fighting ever since he heard the command from Sarutobi, and so far had beaten 12 enemy nin, not focusing too much on where they came from. I may not have Obito's Sharingan anymore, but I'm not powerless. I did learn a few skills before I got it after all. That's 11 for me, Kakashi. Looks like I'm winning, Guy said in his usual upbeat way. Kakashi threw a kunai at an approaching Oto Nin. That makes 13 for me. Guy balled his fist and cried a waterfall. Curse you and your coolness, Kakashi. Not now, Guy, get to business. Sakura and Kiba ran up to their sensei. Kakashi-sensei, what should we do? Gather your friends and anyone who can't fight and head somewhere safe. What? You want us to turn tail and run? Kiba asked, ready to refuse such an order. Yes, I do. We're not fighting a group of academy students or even genin here, we're fighting an army. An army that has been preparing for this. You two are in no shape to get involved here. If one of your comrades were in danger or being reckless, that would be one thing, but that's not happening, so I'm ordering you to get out of the war zone. Sakura, you don't have the skills needed to fight in a war yet, and Kiba, you've just been through a serious fight with one of their genin. How strong do you think their junin are? Sakura looked ashamed, as if she was supposed to be strong enough to fight but aware she couldn't. Kiba looked irritated, like he was being told not to do his favorite thing. Before they could say anything further, Kakashi had to turn away and fight Asuna Nin. Go. Now. The two genin departed and ran out of the stadium. Where are the others? Kiba asked. I don't know. Use your nose. That will help us, Sakura said, sounding worried for her friends and home. I'll go look for Sasuke-kun. Kiba almost snarled. We're under attack and he's still the only thing you can think about. Sakura shook her head. He's the only one I have a good idea on where he might be. I don't know about the others, so we need your nose to find them. We won't need it to find our teammate and see if he can help us. Kiba wanted to argue, but he was noticing that as they were running, Sakura was going towards Sasuke's residence, and by conversing with him she was making him follow her. Fine, but only because he's a teammate. If he's not there, I'm not wasting more time focusing on just him. Thanks, Kiba. The Inuzuka managed to hide his confused look. I was actually expecting her to put up more of a fight than that. So why didn't she? Striking shadow snakes. Enko called out, sending 6 snakes at the head of Konoha's T&I department. Ibiki held up his arms and took the hit, allowing the snakes to bite his arms. There's only one reason why he'd do that. He must have developed some immunity to snake venom in his career. But that's not going to be enough to beat me. At the same time, only a few dozen meters away, Kurenai was fighting the son of the third Hokage. She had tried trapping him in her binding tree genjutsu, but he swung his trench knives around and cleaved her kunai in half. He must be putting wind chakra into his weapons to make them sharper. I can't fight him close range, not that I need to. Hoping to buy themselves some brief time to think, the two kunoichi backed away from their male opponents and stood side by side. Can you target them both while I try something? Enko asked. Sure, but watch out for the smoker there. His weapons are sharper than normal. Kurenai responded. And the Scarface there seems to be used to experiencing pain. Enko added before Ibiki and Asuma came closer and drew them back into the fight. Whatever it is you're planning, we're not going to give you the chance to finish. Asuma told them. You don't scare us. Enko stated. Asuma smirked. You should be. I was one of the 12 guardians of the Fire Daimyo, and he's in charge of the group that specializes in making enemies break and give in. He pointed to Ibiki, who had drawn out some Senbon at this point. Whoop-de-doo. Enko sarcastically replied. You still don't scare me. Not only that, we've just learned a few things about them. Kurenai thought. The bearded one must be a powerhouse, but he probably works best with someone covering him too, and the trenchcoat guy's job has probably made him instinctively hold back on killing us in hopes of capturing us for later. If we get rid of him without getting caught in one of his traps, then the other guy may pull back or call for backup. We can use that time to go help the others. Ibiki threw his Senbon at Enko with a lot of force. The purple-haired kunoichi surprised him by taking the hit. The needles stuck through her jacket, but she acted like she felt nothing. Ibiki grew cautious. She may be capable of ignoring pain if it's too weak. I should try a heavier hit than striking pressure points. He pulled out a few kunai and threw them as well. Enko swirled but looked unafraid. Ibiki noticed one of them hit her mesh shirt and deflected off. Mesh shirts were a simple form of defense, but even they weren't that good. They hindered or weakened damage, they didn't prevent it entirely. Asuma kept swinging his trench knives at Kurenai, who was backing away and dogging each hit and holding some kunai in an effort to hit him first. His knives never touched her, but when they got close her outfit got a few rips. So he's using his chakra to extend their reach as well as sharpen them. That proves his area of expertise is in close range. Fighting him up close is bound to get me bruised and bloody. I need to slow him down. Enko made 4 hand signs, then put her palms on the stadium roof. Summoning jutsu. From the puff of smoke emerged 2 snakes. Kogyoku, I'm going to need your help here. Sango, go find Otuto. He can't be far. Will do. Both snakes said before the purple one wrapped around Enko's shoulders and the orange one slithered away to find Naruto. A snake won't help you here. I'm immune to most venoms. Ibiki said. I could tell. Enko said back. But I never said Kogyoku here was venomous. The purple snake launched off her summoner's torso and grew in size to match that of an anaconda. She's a constrictor. Kurenai meanwhile ducked low when Asuma did a sideswipe strike with his knives, low enough to temporarily be in his blind spot and punch him in his personal area. Asuma briefly winced and stepped back, but overall didn't look too affected by the hit. Kurenai noticed her hand felt like there had been more separating her hand and his body than just cloth. He was wearing a cup. Guess he's fought with kunoichi before a lot in the past. Asuma then threw one of his knives, and it hit Kurenai in the neck. She made several pained sounds of surprise, and tried to pull it out. While she did, he came up and thrust his other knife into her rib cage, destroying her organs. Nothing personal, but I'm certain you would have done the same to me. How right you are. Kurenai said clearly, surprising him. Before Asuma knew it, he felt the stone underneath him get softer and practically turn to mud, then pull him down like quicksand. Kurenai then faded from view and he saw her arms reach out from behind him and told his previously thrown knife at his neck. But how? Illusion art, false death vision. Kurenai told him. In that brief time she couldn't be seen, she cast a genjutsu and applied it to Asuma in her below-the-belt punch, which was her true intention. This tricked the bearded smoker into thinking he got lucky and landed a lethal blow on the red-eyed kunoichi, but she grabbed his discarded weapon and moved behind him, applying another genjutsu to rid him of using his legs. You Oto nin sure are tougher than we gave you credit for. Asuma commented. Thanks, but you should never underestimate your enemy. This invasion is only just beginning. What did you do to piss this many people off, Sarutobi? Enma said once the Hokage summoned him. I don't know, but I'm going to need your help, old friend, to fend them off. Sarutobi answered. The monkey warrior grimaced but did not argue. Very well, Sarutobi, but this may be more than we can handle. We're not as young as we used to be. Maybe, but we're not dead yet. Emphasis on the yet part. Kushina stated. Before the invasion, it was decided that Orochimaru, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kushina, and the Cage would be the ones facing down the Hokage while their armies looked for Danzo and kept Konoha's forces from interfering. The problem here was that having 3 Sannin, a former Jinchuriki with Junin rank, and a cage facing Sarutobi was basically overkill, and they didn't want to kill him too quickly. Each one of them deserved to get a hit in here. Problem was, who first? Fortunately they had that figured out before they came here. Jiraiya and Tsunade stepped forward, or to be more precise they charged at their old instructor. Tsunade had her fist cocked and Jiraiya was performing a set of hand signs. Acting on pure instinct, Sarutobi and Enma dodged to their left, the side Tsunade was on, and Sarutobi pivoted to swing around behind her. Enma transformed into his staff form and Sarutobi grabbed hold of it to hit Tsunade's head from behind. The impact affected her balance and momentum, but it didn't knock her out. Fire-style toad flare bomb. Jiraiya called out before sending a wave of fire at his sensei. Without the toads to provide help here, it was considerably weaker, but it should still burn its target. Using his staff and his armor, which fortunately was fire-proof, Sarutobi was unscathed. You're out of luck, my wayward students. I taught you everything you know. You have no surprises for me. All 3 Sannin laughed. What do you think we've been doing since the last time you saw us? Performing the same old moves over and over again. Orochimaru asked before pulling out his sword Kusanagi. We have new techniques, secret weapons, and we're much younger than you Sarutobi-sensei. Plus we outnumber you. Sarutobi frowned and jumped onto a compartment nearby that elevated him higher than those around him. Maybe, but there's a reason I'm Hokage. You don't know all my moves either. Well, let's see who's got the best tricks up their sleeves then, shall we? Kushina venomously asked, reaching for something hidden behind her. Kurenai was holding one of Asuma's dropped weapons to his neck from behind, when he suddenly disappeared and was replaced by a log. She backed away and looked for any signs of explosive tags attached to it. Fortunately there were none, but she couldn't see Asuma anywhere on the rooftop. He's either planning an ambush or going for backup, maybe both. I better go help Enko-chan while I have a free moment. Enko's summoned snake Kogyoku had managed to constrict herself around Ibiki, and looked ready to bite him. The scarred man could see small drops of clear liquid on the large purple snake's fangs. Wait, I thought you said this snake was a constrictor. Enko deviously chuckled. I did. But that means it can't be venomous. Ibiki added. Enko shook her head. Wrong. I told you I never said Kogyoku was venomous. What you didn't realize is I also never said she wasn't a venomous constrictor. Impossible. Ibiki said, starting to feel a bit afraid. Summons are a little loose with the rules of biology. Enko stated. Kurenai stood beside her friend. Anything I can do? Enko shrugged. Not sure, probably won't have to. Kogyoku, I think we've scared Konoha's big bad mind fucker enough. Give him a taste of what you've got. With pleasure. The snake said, arching her head back. She lunged forward to bite the scarred man's right collarbone area. However, there was a puff of smoke and Kogyoku ended up sinking her fangs into Kurenai. Enko dropped her jaw while the genjutsu expert screamed in pain. Out of the control of her eye she saw a black trenchcoat and blocked a kunai attack. You bastard. You substituted yourself with my friend. Like you wouldn't have done the same had the situation been reversed. Ibiki countered, continuing his assault. Enko mostly blocked but did throw a few hits back. You're just mad you didn't think of it first. Kogyoku withdrew her fangs and stopped constricting around the now victimized Kunoichi. My deepest apologies Yuahi-san. That was not for you. I don't blame you Kogyoku. Kurenai said, trying to withstand the pain and cover up her wounds. The bite left two nasty-looking holes on her collarbone area. Enko looked at her injured friend, trying not to be distracted from her fight with Ibiki. The scarred man was getting a few good swings at her, and it was only thanks to her special mesh she was unscathed so far. Both she and Naruto wore mesh lining that used the shedded skin of Kogyoku and Sango. Naruto even had some sewn into his orange jumpsuit, meaning he wore it for defense rather than stealth. As their names implied, Kogyoku and Sango had hard armor-like scales, something a simple kunai could not damage. Reaching into her pocket, Enko threw something towards Kurenai. Kurenai, catch. The red-eyed Hunin caught it and saw she now held a capped syringe. I always carry anti-venom for my snakes in case they bite someone innocent. Use it now. Thanks Enko-chan, she quietly said before uncapping the syringe and injecting herself with the anti-venom. Right away she felt a strange tingle in her wound and looked at it as best she could given its location. This must have some healing properties to remove the wounds too. Must have been created by Tsunade-sama. Are you better? Kogyoku asked. I'm getting there. Go help her out. The snake nodded. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you'd survive first. I'd hate to kill one of Enko's friends by mistake. She then slithered away. Ibiki saw the approaching serpent and threw one of his kunai at it. Thanks to her crystal-hard scales, the weapon bounced harmlessly off her. Luckily for him, this time the snake seemed apprehensive about striking him in case he substituted with someone else again. Enko however didn't seem as restricted and kept trying to cut him open. A kunai was thrown from the sidelines and only her quick reflexes saved Enko from being hit. Kogyoku wasn't as lucky and got grazed, but the spot that was hit was torn and bled. Enko checked her favorite summons. Kogyoku, you're bleeding. How is that possible? Asuma showed up next to Ibiki holding a sword with wind chakra in it and with a dozen members of the T&I department backing him up. You've got no chance to win or escape now. He declared. Enko glared then smirked. We're not done yet. She then summoned a gigantic three-headed snake. Go crazy, have some fun. She told it, and the Hydra happily obliged. Anko, I don't feel so good. Kurenai said, her vision getting blurry while she got sweaty. Then she collapsed on her left side. Kurenai, Naruto, Hinata, and Isaribi were holding their own against the swarming Hyuga, struggling to fight multiple opponents. Some of them did attack Hinata right away, but it looked like most of them were trying to get Naruto and Isaribi out of the way first. Isaribi probably surprised them the most by showing she could fight outside of water. From what they saw in the finals and heard in the preliminaries from Neji, they have expected her to practically be a fish out of water right then. What they didn't realize was that a Sayotaki was designed to work in and out of water, just better in water. Tactic 7 Squid Bite. Isaribi said as she threw a net of monowire at some of the advancing Hyuga. Most escaped but 2 did not and got ensnared in it quickly, thinking they could easily break out of it. The net quickly wrapped around them both, binding them back to back and throwing them off balance and onto the ground. Like this, their hands weren't in a good enough place to cut through the wire easily, but they could cut a few strands. Isaribi knew this and moved forward to hit them both with her kunai, driving them in rather than just cutting them up. Had they been underwater, she also would have been able to trap them there until they drowned. 5 trigrams Protective Blade Dance. Hinata said as she formed 2 long blade of chakra on her hands and swung her arms around quickly to keep all attackers away from her and keep her outside the range of their Juken. It's basically the Protective 8 trigrams technique just renamed, and since the Hyuga rarely kept weapons on themselves, they had little chance of getting close to her. Those that did have weapons tried using them, but they were repelled by her fast flexible arms. At the same time, Naruto was irritating them to new levels. He was currently using his ghost body Kekkei Genkai to make all their attacks useless as well as be difficult to see to their eyes. Nothing could unsettle a Hyuga more than having something mess up their vision like his ghost body does. Ghost Art. Phantom Claws of Decay. He said before creating a set of chakra arms that passed through all the Hyuga around him, removing their ability to produce chakra and thus use any of their fighting methods. After a while it looked like the Hyuga were stepping back to avoid further injuries. Naruto, Hinata, and Isaribi got closer, holding their ground and looking ready for more. Hinata had dropped her Protective Blade Dance, but was ready to bring it back in a heartbeat. Out of the gathered Hyuga, 2 stepped forward. Hinata recognized one of them as Neji, but the older one she didn't recognize right away but felt she should have. Enough of this senseless fighting, all of you. He said, as much to the Oto Genin as his own clan. He then looked directly at Hinata. Are you Hinata Hibiki? It's about time one of you calls me by my real name. She replied. By chance, is your mother named Hitomi? Hinata glared. That's none of your business. I only ask because if it's true, then you're my niece. He told her. You may not remember me, but I'm Hizashi, your father Hiyashi's brother. Oh yeah, this was the guy who was with the Hokage when they asked for our cover story. Hinata thought. So, what does that matter to me? Hizashi sighed, sounding a bit sad. Before anything else happens, I just feel you should know. Your father is no longer with us. Hinata showed no reaction. He's dead. Hizashi nodded. He killed himself, unable to cope with the loss of his wife and 2 daughters. Had he known you were still alive, he might have found the will to live on. Okawa-san's not going to like hearing that. She's never said a word about that to me or Hanabi, so I doubt she already knows this. Hinata thought. And you're telling me this? Why? Hizashi looked confused, as did several other Hyuga. I just thought you should at least know about your father so you can properly mourn him. Hinata scoffed. I don't even remember my father's face. I'm not wasting a tear on mourning him. Neji glared. You heartless bitch. He couldn't imagine why anyone would not mourn the passing of a parent, given how close he once was to losing his own. Like I care what a clan of child beaters has to say. Hinata replied, surprising the surrounding Hyuga. Why do you think I never came back to this place? I refuse to live with a so-called family that beats up and enslaves its own for an ego trip disguised as training or a safety measure, or in a village that lets them hide behind clan privileges to do as they please. I'll die before I go back to you. Wish granted. One of the Hyuga said, ready to aim for her heart right then while she was unfocused. I don't know about you guys, but I can't keep running forever. Dosu told his teammates. We won't have to. These guys should be slowing down soon enough. Kin replied. Then why aren't they? Zaku asked, irritably. Kin frowned. I said soon enough, not right away. Give it some time. The more they run, the sooner it will happen. The three genin noticed out of the corner of their eyes someone new approaching them quickly. Kin turned and got ready to throw a few shuriken before she saw who it was. Kabuto-sensei. What are you doing here? Same thing you are, running from a chaser. The spectacled Junin answered, pointing his thumb behind him to indicate Sume and Kuromaru. Can you help us out here, sensei? My legs are getting tired. Zaku pleaded. Certainly, but that means more stamina training back home. Kabuto said in a joking manner, making Zaku groan. The four Oto nin came to a stop on a building close to Konoha's southeast wall. The pursuing Konoha nin came to a stop too, creating a standoff between the two groups. Wise move to admit defeat. One of the Konoha nin stated. Sume looked over at the others. Kami-sama, you're all bleeding so heavily. What are you talking about? Another Konoha shinobi asked before feeling around his body. I'm not BLE, he stopped when he felt several kunai sticking out of him and some warm liquid around the apparent wounds too. The others checked too and saw they all had no less than 6 weapons lodged in their flesh and losing a lot of blood from them. How could this have happened? Kin smirked. That was me and my blind skin genjutsu. It took away your ability to recognize you were being hurt and made you unable to feel any pain. As far as you were concerned, I kept missing because you couldn't feel my weapons hit their mark. But I hit you every time, you just didn't feel it. And now that you've noticed, all that pain you've been blinded to, combined with the blood loss you've endured thanks to all that running around, should hit you right about now. As if on cue, the wounded ninja suddenly felt the effects of Kin's genjutsu wear off, and the accumulated sensations of pain and lightheadedness kicked in all in one instant. Being experienced shinboi, they didn't scream or make a fuss, but they did wince and lose the ability to stand up and move around much anymore. Unless they were taken to a medic, they'd all die of copious blood loss within 30 minutes tops. Sume growled at the Oto nin. Seeing comrades near death was always a good way to get an Inuzuka mad, even if they didn't know the comrades that well. Being a fighter rather than a healer, Sume chose to attack the Oto nin rather than get the fallen shinobi to safety. The three genin got out of the way but Kabuto remained in her line of attack. At the last second he swerved to avoid being hit and then touched her arm with his chakra scalpel. Sume winced in surprise as she felt a few tendons being severed inside her arm. Kuromaru was able to bite down on Kabuto's left calf while he was occupied. Dosu ran up to the large dog. Melody Gauntlet Ultra High-Pitched Screech. His weapon now emitted a sound that was so high-pitched only dogs could hear it, and it was at point-blank range. Kuromaru howled in agony, feeling like his ears were about to explode. All he could do right then was run away, even if it meant ditching Sume. He hated doing that, but his ears currently didn't care about loyalty. So the black wolf-like canine darted away as fast as he could. Sume saw all this and could not fault her partner for doing that. She backed away from Kabuto, rubbing her right upper arm where he struck her. She felt no external wound, but she was certain the ligament was cut. I sure hope there's no internal bleeding, or I'm screwed. I better try one move to see if I can take them down then get to an available medic right away to check the damage. Decapitating airwaves. Zaku shouted as he attacked the Inuzuka matriarch. Piercing fang. Sume replied before spinning around like a cyclone missile. Thankfully Zaku was worn out from repeated attacks earlier so she was able to brush off his attack like this and continue her own. Zaku was surprised to see his attack do nothing and unfortunately he couldn't react in time and got hit by Sume's attack head-on. He screamed in pain as the cyclone attack tore into him. The only thing keeping him from dying right away was the fact his attack had slowed her down a little. Sume then went past Zaku and disappeared out of sight. Zaku collapsed on his back in agony. His team members came up to see how he was doing. Kabuto looked him over immediately. Intensive trauma on his internal abdominal region, tearing of the skin, multiple fractures, and I think internal bleeding. We can't move you so I am going to have to treat you here. Kin, Dosu, stand guard. Yes sensei. The two said before taking defensive positions around their wounded teammate. Outside the purple barrier atop one of the roofs, a few Anbu tried to get through and help the Hokage. They found they could not and would only incinerate upon contact with the barrier. Apparently attacking the four Oto Nin creating the barrier didn't work as the barrier extended to cover them too. Inside the barrier, Sarutobi found himself having a hard but not one-sided fight. Tsunade and Jiraiya kept attacking him, although he noted Jiraiya appeared to be pulling his punches a little. Kushina got involved, and to his horror, she had a dark sword in hand. Meanwhile, Orochimaru and the Cage stood back and watched. They're not watching, they're getting ready for something. I can see Cage's gold dust swirling around, but I can't see what he's doing with it. Tsunade and Kushina are the only ones actually trying to kill me, but I think Jiraiya's trying to keep me from interfering in whatever the others are doing. Sarutobi analyzed. Kushina's sword came much too close for his liking and it was only thanks to Enma's staff form he wasn't cut by her. Is that the sword I think it is? He asked. You'd think I'd try to kill you with just any sword? Kushina angrily asked back. Sarutobi backed away, grabbed a few of the broken tiles on the roof, and threw them like shuriken. Heck knew it was a weak attack, but hopefully he would hit a vulnerable spot. Tsunade hit them all away with her fists and Kushina used her sword to cut them in half. From behind Jiraiya threw two kunai aimed at the back of Sarutobi's knees. Sarutobi shifted his legs and received only small cuts. I can't hold out much longer fighting multiple skilled vengeful opponents. I better bring out one of my trump cards. The old man told himself. Enma, we're going to have to use one of the big ones. Enma turned back into his normal form and kicked Jiraiya to keep some distance from him. You certain about that, Hiruzen? We're not going to last much longer without it. The Sandaime replied, already starting the hand signs and then placing his palms on the roof. Earth-style army of mountain apes. From the roof emerged a dozen stone statues that looked like small gorillas. Small meaning they weren't life-sized, only half-sized. Right away the constructs tried to swarm everyone around them except Sarutobi and Enma. Damn, my sword's useless against these things. Kushina said as she avoided one of the apes and sheathed her signature weapon. One almost got her from behind, but Tsunade covered her by hitting it hard enough to make it shatter. Thanks Tsunade-sama. No sweat Kushina-chan, although I get the feeling. The slug Sanin paused to take out another one. That I'm going to be the one to handle this part the most. No you won't. Kushina said, thrusting her right arm out and using her chakra chain to wrap around three gorilla statues before pulling it and cleaving them. This doesn't make sense. Jiraiya though, also breaking a few ape golems with weaker but well-placed kicks. Sensei must know we can destroy these things. What's his angle? Gold coffin. Cage said, using some of his gold dust like how his son uses his sand. With it he trapped one stone gorilla. Gold burial. The trap tightened until the sound of shattering rock could be heard. Orochimaru jumped over one attacking statue and turned in midair behind it. Lightning-style storm viper jutsu. A lightning bolt in the shape of a snake shot out from his hands and struck the automaton he had aimed at, then bounced off it to strike one more target. Both hits destroyed the top half of the stone apes. Tsunade got the last one. Give it up sensei, you're outnumbered and too old to fight us all. Maybe, but I'm not alone either. He told her. Before I do more, I must ask, why are you against me? I can sum it up in one word. Orochimaru stated. Naruto. Naruto. Sarutobi asked, remembering the blonde from the last time he saw him, 10 years ago. Indeed sensei. The snake Sanin responded. You lied to me, you lied to my teammates, you lied to Konoha, you lied to Cage-sama, you've lied to us all and we're very angry about it. Tell us why, and we may go easy on you. Sarutobi frowned. So that's what this is all about. You don't like the decisions I made to ensure peace for this village, so you're going to bring war to it. Peace? Who are you to speak of peace? Kushina bitterly asked. I did what I could, even if it meant getting dirty. But enough of this. Earth-style Kong conglomerate jutsu. The old man said, sounding angry and wanting this to be finished. When he finished, all the broken pieces used to make his ape army rose into the air and gathered in one point. When they got there they were rearranged and reshaped, and soon created an earthen gorilla about half the size of Gamabunta. Sarutobi jumped to get on top it, and Enma followed. Like it. I used this a few times back in the war. The first jutsu gets a few hits in while it lasts, but when the stone apes are destroyed, this one can be created from the rubble with only a fraction of the chakra needed if I did it without the first. A layered jutsu strategy, good one sensei. Orochimaru told him. Damn, with that thing here there's no room for our summons. At least we don't need them. Tsunade thought. Orochimaru, is it time? Jiraiya asked. Oh yes, it's time. Kazekage-sama, if you will. The Suna leader controlled his gold dust, revealing that all this time he had been carving a hole in the rooftop for them to reach down into. But instead of having a person go into it, his gold dust did and pulled up something, an old man around Sarutobi's age in a chair. Thank you for your sacrifice, Satoru-san. Kazekage told the old man. It's the least I can do. This way I'll die with value. The man in the chair said. Jiraiya, go get Naruto now. Orochimaru told his teammate. What the heck are they planning? Sarutobi asked himself. Temari had her fan fully opened, Kankuro had his Karasu armed and dangerous, and Gaara had his sand ready and thirsty for blood. In front of them stood a cluster of Konoha Junin, numbering close to 22 by Temari's count. Wind-style great breakthrough. Temari shouted, swinging her fan. When ambushed like this she often was the first to attack. It was part of a favored strategy the Suna siblings had. The wind attack sent several of the Junin out of the trees, but most of them used their chakra to reinforce their hold on the branches. When the attack ended, the remaining Junin threw a few tagged kunai at the trio. Gaara's sand reacted to shield all three of them from the blasts. Kankuro looked down to see those that fell out of the tree seconds ago landed safely and were coming up the tree they were standing in. Acting swiftly, he sent Karasu down to shoot poison-tipped Senbon at them to slow them down if not stop them. Gaara's sand formed a Shukaku claw and tried to swat away most of the Konoha nin. 2 felt the blow but 10 escaped. Fire-style fireball jutsu, 5 of them said simultaneously, trying to turn Gaara's sand to glass. He retracted his sand before they could and jumped to the tree behind him to avoid the more direct flames. Temari and Kankuro had to move too once they saw their tree was on fire. Temari went down to the ground to take care of the ninja there, and Kankuro went higher up for cover while Karasu fought below him. Temari's wind kept most approachers from getting too close as well and alter the landscape little by little, making them have to take new positions each time. Karasu kept surprising the Konoha nin with the revelation of extra arms and hidden blades, all equipped with poison that had already affected 3 of the Junin. And Gaara's sand killed everyone it touched, turning them into a bloodly pulp. Something's not right. This is too easy. Gaara thought as he claimed his 4th victim. It's like they're trying to survive but not win here. His eyes widened. Kankuro, Temari, let's get out of here. The 2 did not freeze, but they were concerned. Gaara never insisted they desert a fight. What's wrong? Kankuro asked before moving his position. They've got to be trying to delay us. They're keeping us busy as they plan for something. The redhead boy explained, having to kill another man. Smart boy. A man's voice called out. Temari tried to jump once she heard that, but her body froze. She struggled to look down, and saw a shadow was attached to her own. What the fuck? Looking to where the shadow came from, she saw Shikaku Nara. Shadow possession jutsu success. Inoichi Yamanaka appeared next to a Konoha nin clutching his bleeding side. Thank you for your assistance. We'll take it from here. Shuza Akamichi became his giant size and grabbed a hold of Karasu. Kankuro panicked and tried to get his puppet to cut the man's large hands, but it didn't work. His skin was too hard. And to make matters worse, Shuza's other hand came very close to crushing him too. Kankuro got away and landed by his sister's side. Gaara showed up beside them too. You will not hurt those precious to me. And you will not succeed in destroying our home. Shikaku said, extending his shadow to ensnare the other 2. Kankuro got away, but Gaara made no effort to move. Mind possession jutsu. Inoichi said, aiming his attack at Gaara. Anytime now Fu-chan would be good. Sasama said as some Anbu found their hiding spot and jumped to land in front of them, trying to hold them in place. There were three, wearing masks like a cat, pig, and crow. Sasama pulled out a wakizashi and Haku pulled out some kunais. Fu opened her eyes and stared fearlessly at the approaching Anbu. I wouldn't attack as if I were you. Oh yeah. And why not? The cat-masked one challenged. Using Shichibi's chakra, Fu ripped a brick out of the building behind her. She showed it to the Anbu, where a paper bomb with a wire attached to it was clear to see. Because there's a trap in the area. Attack us, and I trigger this bomb and all other bombs attached to it. It's a good thing we were informed on where a few of those were by Hinata-san in case we needed to use any. Haku thought. The crow Anbu in particular stiffened. How do you know about the layout? You must be a Hyuga to know about the huge paper bomb network that runs through Konoha. Fu replied, confusing all the other Anbu. Oh, you guys didn't know. Someone rigged this entire village to explode if so much as a kunai hit the wrong spot. A spot like this one. The Hokage knows about it, but hasn't done a damn thing about it except have the Hyuga ensure it's untouched. The Anbu look at the crow-masked one. It's just a contingency plan, that's all. Some carpenter set up long ago, but we stopped him from setting it off. Hokage-sama felt it best to keep it in place in the event Konoha was likely to be taken over. That way we could destroy the enemy with us. I guess you never planned for what to do if the enemy beat you to it. Fu commented, then held a kunai close to the bomb. All I have to do is strike this and your village goes bye-bye. You're bluffing. The pig Anbu said. Fu snickered. If I am, then why is your friend there so nervous? He's aware of the situation, you tell me if I'm bluffing. Fu-chan, you better know what you're doing. I'd rather not die here. Haku and Sasama thought. The cat Anbu moved quickly, pulling out her sword and severing the wire attached to the bomb. There, now your threat is useless. But we're not. Haku said, throwing her kunai. The cat Anbu deflected them and came up closer. Haku couldn't form any jutsu or reach for her weapons, so the Anbu managed to grab her, pin her to the wall, and hold her sword against the back of Haku's neck. She's fast. Almost as fast as me. Haku-chan. Sasama yelled, starting a set of hand signs. Before she could start the second one, the Hyuga Anbu member came up to her and assaulted her with the 64 palms maneuver. Sasama fell to her knees and to add insult to injury he stomped his foot on her back to pin her behind him. The pig-masked Anbu pulled out a few chakra restraining seals and threw them at Fu, but they burned up before hitting her. What the hell? Fu glared at him, her eyes yellow and her body covered in red chakra. Sasuke poured himself a glass of tomato juice, trying to ignore the commotion going on outside his apartment. Must be some sort of celebration for everyone who's advancing. Damn it, that should be me. He said out loud, for no particular reason. And why should it be? A new voice said from behind him. Defensive, and even a bit spooked, Sasuke spun around to see the intruder. He momentarily cursed the fact that he didn't have any gear on him at that moment. Seated on the open windowsill was Subsonic, looking rather casual, but still wearing their ninja gear, mask, and hood to hide any and all identifying characteristics. Even the voice was muffled to be hard to distinguish. What are you doing here in my house? Sasuke angrily asked. I just came to see what you were going to do about your village being attacked. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Konoha's under attack. Indeed, and by my superiors. What are you going to do about? Subsonic replied, sounding like they were both challenging him and asking him out of curiosity. Sasuke shrugged. Why should I do anything? Konoha used me, so why should I volunteer to risk my life for them? Subsonic frowned. Because once you became a ninja you swore to aid Konoha in good times and bad and do whatever it took to uphold the will of fire in your home. So? Sasuke asked. I owe them nothing. It's not a matter of owing. It's a matter of loyalty to your home and what it stands for. People outside are dying and you can look me in the eyes and tell me you don't care even a little. Subsonic asked. If it were my clan out there, Sasuke started, but was cut off by a kunai almost hitting his toes before he even knew it had been thrown. Enough with your Uchihas are the only ones who matter complex. I'm sick to death of hearing it. Subsonic told him, irritation flooding their voice. Sasuke glared. You break into my home, try to order me around, and now you insult my clan. What the hell gives you the right to look down on me? I do it for the same reason you do it to everyone else. Subsonic answered. Wait, that's not entirely true. I do it because I don't respect you. You do it because you don't respect others too, but you also think you're superior to all other carbon-based lifeforms simply because you were born with a fancy name. Maybe you've never realized this, Sasuke, but Uchiha does not translate as Kami. Get out, Sasuke said, in no mood to hear more disrespect. Subsonic stood up and looked defiant. Make me, big tough elite guy. Sasuke glared and stood his ground, but did nothing. I don't have any weapons and using fire jutsu would just damage my home. All I have is taijutsu, but it strangely doesn't look like this person actually came here for a fight. What do you want with me? He asked. To be honest, I wanted to see what you'd do knowing Konoha and the people who know are in danger. I can't say I'm surprised to see you be so apathetic to this, but I can say I'm disappointed. Subsonic told him. Sasuke scoffed. Don't talk about me like you know me. Oh, but I do, Sasuke Uchiha. I've been watching many people in Konoha for years, waiting for this day. You're one of the many I took an interest in. I know you have a clinical superiority complex with a narcissistic desire for it to be reinforced by those around you. I know you were considered popular and talented by your classmates, but they were misguided, mistakenly believing that your brother was unable to kill you rather than he spared you. I know you're the type of person who wants something to fight against rather than something to fight for. And I know that deep down, your strongest desire is not to kill Itachi to avenge your clan. Sasuke looked shocked and deeply offended at that last one. How dare you? I am an avenger. My entire life has been devoted to avenging my clan and killing Itachi. Subsonic shook their head. No, it's not, and I can prove it. Sasuke frowned. Oh yeah? How? Tell me, Sasuke, whenever you picture yourself killing Itachi, exactly how do you see it happening? Subsonic asked. That's simple. I face him and fight him until he dies. Subsonic gave the young boy a flat look, which didn't have much effect with a mask on. So you fight him head on? Yes. Giving him the chance to fight back. What are they getting at? Sasuke asked himself. Yeah, so what? That proves my point that your motives are wrong. You do want to kill your brother, but you're not doing it for your clan. You're doing it for yourself. Sasuke bared his teeth angrily. What the hell makes you think that? It's simple. When training, all you think about is getting strong enough to kill Itachi. I've heard you say that several times when you train. It's always, I must get stronger, I must surpass Itachi. Do you think Itachi's just been sitting on his ass this whole time, waiting for you to come kill him? He's been training too and he has years more experience ahead of you. That's why I must get stronger as fast as possible. Fast enough to surpass him. Sasuke interjected. Subsonic crossed their arms. Apparently the idea of killing him when his guard was down never crossed your mind. You claim you want him dead with every fiber of your being, and yet the idea that maybe you could get him when he sleeps, poison his food, wait until he exhausts himself fighting someone else, or even ambush him when he's on the toilet is something you refuse to consider. If you truly wanted revenge for your clan, you'd take any chance you could to kill him and get it over with. But no, you want to face him in a head-on battle, where he knows you're there and can fight back. What's your point? Sasuke asked, running out of patience. My point, Sasuke, is that proves what I claimed earlier. There's only one reason you would want to fight Itachi this way rather than kill him when it was easy. You want to see him fall before you and say you're stronger than he is. Even though you believe you're more important than anyone else in this village, the only person you admit is stronger than you is Itachi and you want to change that. You want to hear him submit to your might after you defeat him. That proves that this quest of yours has absolutely nothing to do with avenging your clan. You're doing this to get an ego boost and rid yourself of the one thing you feel threatened by. Sasuke clenched his fists and looked like he was willing this unidentified person to burst into flames without any jutsu involved. Who the hell do you think you are? Who am I? Subsonic repeated. If you wanted to know, all you had to do was ask, young man. With that, Subsonic removed their hood and mask. When Subsonic first took off their mask, Sasuke didn't expect them to turn out to be someone he actually knew. If anything, he just thought that this enemy was being stupid in giving away their identity like that. The smart choice would have been to keep their face and name hidden to keep up their anonymity. But once the hood was off, Sasuke started thinking differently. There had to be a reason this masked ninja was so willing to show their face. They had to gain something by doing this, enough to make up for the fact that from now on they couldn't spy easily anymore since Sasuke would be able to identify them. With that in mind, Sasuke now got apprehensive. Subsonic's hood and mask were off, revealing a woman's face with short black hair and a set of brown eyes behind blue glasses. After that, Subsonic removed a vest which allowed her compressed breasts to relax and become more noticeable. The vest was mostly there to hold some supplies and trick people into thinking she was a man. Sasuke's eyes widened as he recognized this person. Mako Ichiba. You're a spy for another village. Yep, I'm a spy. No one would suspect someone as insignificant as a mere eye doctor of being a spy. Luckily that job ensures every ninja in Konoha comes to me in time, especially those with dujutsu, so I barely even have to look for information. Of course I still do look. Sasuke frowned. So you're the one who told those music note ninja I had a dujutsu. You set me up to lose my Sharingan. Mako looked nonchalantly. You're only half right. Yes, I did tell the ninja of Oto you have a Sharingan, but you did that too by flaunting your Uchiha name left and right. Ninja don't go bragging about themselves, you idiot. You just make yourself a target that way. And yes, I did ask them to take away your Sharingan, but I had no idea you and they were going to be in wave at the same time. I figured you wouldn't lose it until later on in the future. That was just really good timing. It doesn't matter. My Sharingan's gone and it's your fault. Sasuke said, grabbing a meat cleaver from a drawer. You may find this hard to believe, Sasuke, but I didn't ask that to hurt you. I asked that to happen so it would help you. Help me. How is making me lose my Sharingan helping me? Sasuke shouted, looking like he was 1 minute away from chopping her up like a butcher. Mako smiled. Simple. Now you know what everyone really thinks of you and now you know not to take your own skills and status for granted anymore. Had you kept your Sharingan, you would have continued to be the council's pampered bitch with delusions that they are on your short leash, rather than you on theirs. Sasuke was still mad, but he settled down. As much as I hate to admit it, she does have a point. Even so, I will never forgive you for doing that. I don't expect you to, Sasuke. In fact, I don't think I even deserve it. Sasuke arched an eyebrow but smugly smiled. At least you acknowledge your crime against me. Mako now looked remorseful and a bit mad. Sasuke, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I did something far worse than give some shinobi the idea to damage your eyes. Something that to this day makes me feel ambivalent. There are days I still regret doing what I did, but other times I feel like I only would have made things worse had I done anything else. The same applies to how I feel about you personally, Sasuke. I don't understand. Just why would you care about me at all if you're my enemy? Sasuke asked. Because I don't want to be your enemy, Sasuke, but at the same time, I can't stand what you've become. What's wrong with you? You're an enemy, plain and simple. That's all we need to know. Mako shook her head. Life isn't as absolute as you think it is, Sasuke. But I guess there's only one way to prove it to you. She then took off her glasses and pulled out a set of brown contact lens in her eyes, showing her pupils were actually black in color. Then she removed her headband used to keep her hair up. Without it, her dark brown hair fell down to her waist. All of a sudden, Sasuke recognized a face he had not seen in a long time except in his memories and photographs. No, it can't be. This is impossible. It's true, Sasuke. Mako Ichiba is just a fake name and identity for me. My true name is Makoto Uchiha, your mother. You can't be. Itachi killed her just like all the others. Sasuke came close to shouting. He performed a genjutsu release, only to see nothing changed. The now revealed Makoto sadly shook her head. I almost did die, but Itachi couldn't wound me as well as the others. I'm an expert at dodging, Sasuke, nicknamed the Kami no Kawarimi for a reason. What you saw was me faking death to avoid taking any further damage. Itachi had too much to cover to ensure I was truly dead. You can't be my mother. Sasuke said, looking and sounding like he was about to break out in hysterical tears. You would have come for me if you were. I wanted to, at first. But I couldn't. It's a long story as to why. Flashback. Dazed and confused, Makoto started to regain consciousness. Looks like my false death jutsu is wearing off, and it looks like it was enough to trick Itachi. For all basic purposes, I had no pulse, no breath, no warmth for 2 minutes, a perfect simulation of death. Too bad Sensei was right when she said the after effects always make you feel like shit. Right now she had a headache, cramping muscles, nauseous taste in her mouth, her eyes couldn't focus, and her legs wouldn't respond to her commands. She sort of felt like she had a hangover and slept in a bad position during the night. Hey, over here. We have a live one. Some man's voice called out from above Makoto. For some reason, I don't like the sound of that. Makoto thought. She looked up and saw an Anbu agent standing over her, but this Anbu didn't feel normal to her. He was looking at her like she was a prize of some kind. Soon others showed up, and among them was a man with bandages on his face. My, this sure is surprising. I didn't think we'd find a live one tonight. The bandaged man said. What should we do, Danzo-sama? One of the Anbu asked, as if unprepared for encountering any survivors here. Are the others? Are they all dead? Fugaku. Sasuke. Oh please Kami no. Makoto frantically thought. Take her away to the cells. Her eyes should theoretically be the best ones to use here, and if she can still bear children, we can ensure the Uchiha line will stay alive and I'll have prime access to the children. Danzo told the Anbu. Like hell I'm staying here. Makoto thought, then performed a substitution with a training log to get away. Fortunately for Makoto, she didn't need a training log near the Uchiha estate to perform the jutsu. She was good enough to get clear across town using one substitution jutsu, and that was exactly where she had gone. Once free, Makoto sat up and leaned against a tree. Her hands were covering a frontal stab wound she got during the massacre, from Itachi, and not the only wound she had right then. My son. Why did you do this? Why? Did your father push you too hard and you snapped? Were you being controlled by someone? Why? Did you really kill everyone? Is my entire family dead because of my son? She sat down and wept. Who were those people there? They talked like they had something planned for the bodies and they didn't expect anyone to still be alive. But my false death jutsu can only last a few minutes, so they showed up just moments after Itachi saw me, so how could they have known about this so quickly? Why were they more interested in taking the bodies than stopping Itachi from making more? She gasped. They were in on it. This wasn't a random slaughter. Someone planned this, to take something from the Uchiha. Hey, you okay? A man's voice called out to her, causing Makoto to look forward rather than down. In front of her was Jiraiya, looking quite worried. You're bleeding. What happened? I'm not exactly sure myself. Aren't you Jiraiya of the Sannin? Yes I am. That doesn't look good. Without medical attention you could bleed to death in an hour at most, I'd say. But I'm not a medic. I can take you to one though. You can't take me to the Konoha hospital. If you do, there's no way I'm going to see the light of day again. Someone wants to harvest my body, it sounds like. Jiraiya as surprised, but nodded. I know a place where you can be treated. The problem is, I can't guarantee you can come back here anytime soon. My family's dead. What do I have to come back to? Makoto sobbed. Alright then. Jiraiya then summoned a transportation toad. We need to get to Tsunade right away. The toad got larger and swallowed Jiraiya and Makoto, then poofed away and reappeared in Oto. The next day, Makoto was in Oto's hospital. Tsunade had treated her open wounds and kept her from excessive bleeding and internal bleeding as well, and did some repair on the damaged organs. It looked like Itachi had used a sword to cut through her right kidney and nick her liver, not immediately threatening wounds but definitely not something that Makoto could have shrugged off, and he appeared to have done some sort of damage to her spine in a second wound that Tsunade was having difficulty with. Makoto woke up in the morning but saw little reason to be awake and alive. Everyone she knew was dead, so why go on? Her answer came to her really soon. Orochimaru came into the room as she ate breakfast. Makoto-san. It is you. Orochimaru-sama. Makoto asked. So this is where you've been all these years. I probably should have guessed since Jiraiya-sama brought me here and Tsunade-sama treated me. The snake Sannin nodded. Yes. This is my new home, Otogakure. The world's only true hidden village for the time being. I guess now's a good as time as any to give you my report on what's going on in Konoha. Hey? Makoto asked with a light smile, as if she was joking. That can wait until you're better. You've done so much for me and Naruto, the least I can do is let you recover first. Orochimaru told her. Out of all the people in Konoha who had been against Naruto in his brief time there, Makoto was never one of them. She knew Kushina was due to give birth, was with Minato, and had chosen the name Naruto for her son. So when a baby with blonde hair named Naruto Uzumaki appeared the day of the Kyuubi attack, Makoto would have to be too stupid to dress herself to not realize who he was. She would have gladly taken in Naruto if not for two reasons. One being that Fugaku absolutely refused to even think of the idea for reasons he never explained other than no non-Uchiha should have their privileges. And the other being that Makoto had been out of town for a while trying to find Kushina's body and something she left behind for Naruto the days following his birth, and Orochimaru beat her to having custody. She didn't find Kushina, but she found the something, and kept a hold of it in secret so she could give it to Naruto when he was old enough to use it properly. So even though she was unable to raise the boy, she did help Orochimaru in caring for Naruto and even Anko when she was needed. Until he had to leave Konoha, to which she couldn't join as she still needed to care for Sasuke. So she volunteered to stay behind and warn Orochimaru of any possible threats coming from Konoha by sending him messenger birds or informing Jiraiya. This was their first direct meeting in 4 years. Thank you Orochimaru-sama, but as long as you're here and it's fresh in my memory, I might as well tell you what I know. Makoto claimed. Orochimaru sat down on a chair beside the bed. If you insist. The last thing I remember was having a peaceful night at home when all of a sudden my oldest son Itachi came home and tried to fight my husband. He didn't move like this was some random surprise fight or even a drill, he acted like he honestly wanted his father dead. Fugaku fought back and I think the two exchanged words but I can't remember anything they might have said. I tried to interfere but Itachi moved like I was going to receive no more mercy than Fugaku was going to. This is suspicious. Orochimaru commented. Makoto nodded then continued. He almost pierced my neck but I substituted with a log to get away and ran to find some help. To my horror, the streets were littered with bloody dead bodies. All of them, cut or pierced by a sword. She paused briefly, tearing up at the memory. I lost track of time, but Itachi caught up to me again. I tried to run, to keep Sasuke from getting hurt or even seeing any of this. Itachi used weapons and jutsus on me, and I kept substituting to get out of harm's way, but he did manage to get me once. Before he could do more, I used the false death jutsu to trick him into thinking I was dead, and I think it fooled him enough to have him pass me over. How tragic for you Makoto-san. The snake Sanin sympathetically said. And if that wasn't bad enough, when I recovered there were men in uniform collecting the dead bodies. I know for a fact I couldn't have been out for a long time, so I have big suspicions about them. It was like they knew Itachi was going to do this, and instead of stopping him, they wanted to harvest the Uchiha bodies for something. I know this because when they saw I was still alive, one of them talked like they wanted to cover it up, like there weren't supposed to be any survivors. But as long as I was alive they'd keep me hidden and turn me into a breeder like Kumo is rumored to do. Orochimaru looked uncomfortable. After learning what I have from Konoha, I find this very easy to believe Makoto-san. Is it possible that the Sandaime ordered your son to kill off your entire clan? Years ago when he learned about all of Sarutobi's shady dealings in Konoha, the idea that he could do this was not far-fetched to Orochimaru. I don't know how he could have made Itachi do such a thing, but I know my son, and I know he would never do such a horrific thing voluntarily. Makoto answered. Itachi was like me, one of those rare types of people who became a ninja not for the glory or power or the privileges. He wanted to protect what he valued, thinking if getting his hands dirty was the price then so be it. There's no way he'd decide to commit murder on a mere whim. So obviously something pushed him in that direction. The question is what and why. The snake Sanin replied. Makoto nodded. Yes, but for the life of me I have no idea what that is. Don't worry about it for now. Rest and heal yourself Makoto-san, and I'll have Jiraiya see what he can find out without looking suspicious. Orochimaru told the Uchiha matriarch. Makoto nodded, her eyelids getting heavy and she fell asleep a moment later. End flashback. Sasuke didn't know what to say. So that's how you ended up in another village. Makoto nodded. How long until you came back? I needed some time to recover. Not a lot, since the greatest medic in the world was there to treat me, but I had no motive to leave. Until I learned of you, that is. But unfortunately, coming back here was not easy. Makoto answered. Flashback. Makoto had been in Oto for a month now, staying in the Otokage Tower and keeping an eye on the children who lived there. Taking care of Naruto and the others helped fill the void created by the death of her family. It also gave her something to think about besides the lack of mobility in her legs. Apparently the wound to her spine had resulted in paralysis in her legs, and Tsunade's medic jutsu couldn't repair nerve damage right away. That required repeated treatments. Makoto wouldn't be able to walk for quite a while. Right now the Uchiha woman was in a wheelchair watching Naruto try some taijutsu moves with Hinata and Isaribi while Anko and Kurenai showed them what to do. She smiled to see Kushina's son so happy and well, unlike how he was in Konoha. Kushina-chan, you'd be happy to see your son having a good life here, and probably destroy Konoha for not accepting him. Why couldn't they? Was it really so hard to have faith in Minato's work? Why is it everyone praises him for destroying an entire army yet they can't have faith that his seals work? Don't they realize his Hiraishin, the jutsu he beat the army with, requires seals he designed to be done? If Naruto's seal was faulty then the Hiraishin wouldn't even exist. Their hate and mistrust doesn't make sense. It's as if they can't trust the seal. But why? Jiraiya walked up to Makoto and caught her attention. Hey Makoto, I've got news you'll want to hear. But you better come with me to Tsunade Hime and Orochimaru to hear it. It's pretty important. Okay, take me there. Makoto told the Toad Sannin. Jiraiya pushed Makoto's wheelchair to the Oto Council meeting room, where only the other two Sannin were seated, no one else. Ah, Makoto-san, glad you could make it. This applies to you more than anyone else. Orochimaru stated. Makoto looked curious, but stayed silent. Whatever they were going to tell her didn't need to be asked for apparently. Tsunade spoke first. Makoto Uchiha, judging from what Jiraiya had gathered, we have good news and bad news for you. The good news is one of your family members survived what is now known in Konoha as the Uchiha massacre. Makoto perked up, shocked. What? Who? Your son, Sasuke. Jiraiya told her, taking a seat. Sasuke. My baby's alive. Makoto was crying tears of relief. Oh thank Kami. Wait, what's the bad news? After hearing what you told me about what someone in Konoha had planned for your fate, I immediately worried your son would suffer the same way. However, apparently he hasn't. I'm not sure why, but your son does not to be in danger from anyone in Konoha. Jiraiya explained. Makoto looked confused. How is that bad news? I'm getting to that. Jiraiya reassured. When I heard that Sasuke was not being kept hidden away by someone, but allowed to be out in the public with the populace allowed to know about him being alive, I was immediately suspicious. No one's made a move to take him out of the public's eyes, but I have a strong feeling someone in Konoha has plans for him. Tsunade nodded. It's like what Sensei did with Naruto. He covered up everything important so no one would have any interest in him. The problem is this time he's not doing that. The Sandaime is making no efforts to keep your son out of the public's eyes. The way we see it, any enemies the Uchiha have would love to know that right now as far as they know there's only one left and he's defenseless. Naturally, Konoha should hide Sasuke to avoid putting him in danger, but they're not. They want everyone to know they have only one Uchiha left. Jiraiya frowned. Sensei hid Naruto's heritage and status from him and Konoha claiming he was keeping Naruto safe from any vengeful enemies. The fact is Minato and Kushina were not the only ones in Konoha who acquired enemies, even though Sensei lied about Iwa to exaggerate the danger. When you consider this, you would think Sensei would cover up Sasuke too, saying it's for his own good and Konoha's safety. But they're not. Makoto nodded. So someone obviously wants to take advantage of my son in a way that will only work if he's not in hiding, even if it means putting him in danger. The Sannin nodded too. That's our thoughts exactly. The question is to what purpose? Orochimaru spoke up. I'll try to find out but with my methods I can only find out so much. Jiraiya stated. Let me help. Makoto said, making the Sannin curious. As soon as I can move on my own again, let me get a direct look. Jiraiya-sama can't be there all the time, and can't go looking for information on Konoha without looking suspicious, but I can. Orochimaru shook his head. Makoto-san, you can't. If you show Konoha you survived, whoever tried to assault you that night will make an effort to do so again, or at least discredit you enough to keep you away from your son or the public. They'll ask where have you been all this time and how did you survive? If the T&I department get a hold of you, then this village will be revealed before we're ready for that. And from there, it would be easy to keep you locked up forever while they continue to do who knows what with your son. Makoto hung her head. There must be something I can do. Orochimaru thought it over. I think I know a way you can be a set of eyes and ears for us and stay out of trouble, Makoto-san. Everyone else looked at the snake Sanin, who grinned like he had a great idea. If people knew who you were, then only problems will await you. However, if no one knows who you are, then things will be safer for you. Tsunade blinked as she thought it over. You mean, create an identity for her and plant her in Konoha? Orochimaru nodded. That could work, but I see two flaws. How do you get her there without raising suspicions, and how would she be able to send us information? Orochimaru turned to Jiraiya. Jiraiya, if you were go up to sensei with a homeless civilian who can work that you're familiar with on your travels, would he turn her away? The Toad Sanin thought it over. I don't think so, but it will take some convincing. He then turned to Makoto. Would you be able to handle that? Living under an alias and unable to do ninja work, but also unable to tell your son who you are. Even trying to gain legal guardianship over him will be out of the question, at least for a year or so. Any sooner will look like you have an agenda and you don't want that. Makoto didn't know what to say. I won't be able to tell my baby his mother's right there with him. He has to think I'm dead. Why? Even if it's for my own good, can I do it? See him but not tell him. Act like a stranger around him. After a moment she cleared her throat. Is there really no other way? Tsunade shook her head. I don't think so, Makoto. I know it hurts, but think about it. At least this way you can see him and interact with him even if not as family, but if you don't you'll never get to be with him again. Going back as yourself will go make things worse. But going back as someone else, and you may have a chance to get close to him and later adopt him. If things work out that is, I can't guarantee that will happen. Makoto sighed. Even so, it's my only chance, isn't it? The Sanin nodded. Very well. I will go back to Konoha under a fake name and keep an eye on my son that way, as well as find out things for you about Konoha that Jiraiya-sama may not have access to. As for how I can send it to you, I know a way. If I place a long line of logs and rock in a straight line between the villages, I can use the substitution technique to get from point A to point B and back all within a night if I have to. You can do that? Tsunade asked. Makoto nodded. I'm the Kami no Kawarimi. I can substitute with many things very quickly and I have a larger range of usage than anyone else. I can cover miles in a flash thanks to one substitution, so I can cover the trip between the villages in an hour or so if I have to. The only reason I didn't get to the other side of the village away from Itachi right away that night was I didn't want him to follow me and get more people involved. But I could have if I wanted to. Orochimaru was impressed. That would help out quite a bit. A fast-moving ninja who can hide under the radar so to speak. Our unseen Odo agent. Makoto Uchiha, do you accept your responsibility? Before Makoto could answer, Tsunade spoke up. Hold on Orochimaru, she needs to recover first, and it could take up to a year to get her nerves reconnected and for her to handle the physical therapy to be as mobile as before. Makoto slammed her open palm on the table, effectively catching everyone's attention. 6 months. I'll be ready in 6 months. I've got a son to get back to, I can't wait a year for that. Orochimaru smiled. True to her word, Makoto finished her treatments and recovery in 6 months. 6 months and 8 days to be exact. Everyone was amazed. Tsunade had finished her medical work about 3 months after Makoto arrived in Odo, meaning 4 months of treatments total. After that, Makoto regained the ability to use her legs, but had to learn to stand on her own again and get coordinated again when moving. Not only that, she needed to be used to performing jutsu again. But her desire to be near her son again motivated Makoto like nothing else could have. So now, Makoto stood on her own in front of Orochimaru, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and the entire shinobi council of Oto. Orochimaru stood as the most prominent person there. Makoto Uchiha, you have surpassed our expectations and regained your ability to serve our village as desired faster than expected. That shows us you will be a great asset to our village. Will you serve us? Makoto nodded. I will. Konoha has proven to be a threat to me and my family, and while I cannot act yet I will find out the depths of this threat and ensure it will not spread to Otogakure. I owe my life to the Sannin, and I will do as they ask to the best of my abilities, as a kunoichi of Oto. Orochimaru smiled. I'd give you an Oto Hitai 8, but where you're going that will only get you in trouble. Then he looked serious. Makoto-san, your mission is to disguise yourself as a civilian and allow Jiraiya to take you to Konoha. Once there you will assume a civilian's lifestyle and work, but keep a watchful eye and ear out for anything that can be of use to us. You have my permission to investigate the matter with the Uchiha as you wish, as long as it does not interfere with your other duties and does not put you at risk. At least once every 2 weeks, report back to us at your convenience. Do you understand? I do, Otokage-sama. Orochimaru and the others looked pleased. Very well. Have you chosen an acceptable alias? Makoto nodded. Yes. Meiko Ichiba, based on an old nickname of mine that hasn't been used in years. With that and a simple non-genjutsu disguise, I will handle my role with ease. I also learned how to be an eye doctor from my mother, so with Jiraiya-sama's help, I should have no problem landing a job as an unassuming optometrist. Someone every ninja will eventually come to and chat with. Orochimaru and the others nodded. Excellent. From now on, you will no longer be known as Makoto Uchiha, until further notice. In Konoha, you will be Meiko Ichiba. In Oto, your identity will be hidden to keep any spies in here from finding you. Here, you will be our secret weapon. Fast, unseen, unheard, unnoticeable. Your title will reflect that. You are subsonic. End flashback. And even you should know the rest, Sasuke. Makoto finished to her stunned son. I came back, got a job, got a home, and got to see you around town all the time. It would have been great. Until I found out that during the 7 months I was gone you went from being a sweet boy to a rotten spoiled brat. No wonder Jiraiya-sama didn't tell me what you were like during my recovery. Had I known, I would have given up. Sasuke was barely able to comprehend all this. Itachi had been unable to kill his mother. Someone knew about the massacre beforehand and seek to profit from it. The legendary Sannin had turned traitor to Konoha and were in charge of the music note ninja. His mother had been in Konoha for years but couldn't expose herself even to him to keep them both out of danger. This can't be true, Sasuke said. Can it? It is, Sasuke. Makoto reassured him. Don't you remember how in my first year here I was always nice to you? Gave you treats. Offered to keep you company. Everyone did that. And they also tried pushing their daughters onto me too. Makoto sadly nodded. I remember. I also remember how you treated me when I was being nice. Nothing I did was good enough for you and you never wanted to talk to me unless I was kissing your ass. It hurt, but I thought you were just upset from the tragedy. It was worse when I saw you on your 9th birthday. Remember that? Sasuke tried to think back. No, I don't. I'm not surprised. Makoto said, sounding mournful. I got you some of your favorite candy as a kid, hoping it would make you think of your mother and feel less alone. But when you got it, Now she looked somewhat angry, shedding tears. You actually had the gall to tell me it was the most worthless gift you ever got. You actually told me the wrapping paper was worth more to you than the gift was. You said my gift wasn't going to help you kill your brother and it was an insult to your clan to give you an inexpensive useless gift. It was. Sasuke said before he could stop himself. Makoto still looked mad. A heartfelt gift was an insult. Sasuke, I never thought I could love and hate you at the same time. Now Sasuke looked hurt. What? You're my son and I love you. I've never stopped. But at the same time, I hate what you've become. I know you can become a good person again, the kind of boy others can be proud of, but as long as you continue to believe that you're the only one who matters, you're just going to keep making me sick. Sasuke gasped in disbelief. What? Makoto crossed. Even when you thought I was dead, did you think I would approve of your behavior? But I'm just trying to avenge everyone. That's important to us. Sasuke argued. Makoto leaned closer. Her glare started to make Sasuke panic a bit. No, it's important to you. I don't like what Itachi did either, but I've at least made my peace with it. You however refuse to, and until you try, if you ever do kill Itachi, you'll just feel hollow because then you'll have nothing else to look forward to in life unless you decide someone else needs to be killed. I mean, seriously Sasuke, have you ever thought about what you're going to do after you kill your brother? I'll rebuild my clan and bring it back to glory again, without any council members using me. The young man answered. Makoto scoffed. And how are you going to do that? You've already alienated every girl in your age group, even your most devoted one. You think you just have to act nice after Itachi's gone and they'll forget you called them worthless brainless bitches who are only there to make things easier for you. Girls don't forget those kind of things so easily Sasuke, and they don't forgive on command no matter what your status may be. You've basically lost any chance to rebuild your clan since you've made it clear you don't care about anyone but yourself. Now Sasuke got a little mad. You're telling me to forget about what happened to my clan. You dare call me heartless, while this whole time you don't care about what happened to us nor tell me you were alive this whole time. What gives you the right to pass judgment on me? Makoto crossed her arms, still looking stern and in charge here. Once again you're only seeing this in a way that affects just you. You're not even asking how am I affected, nope, just yourself. I told you I don't like what Itachi did, and I've been miserable not being able to tell you who I really am. But if you really want to know why I decided what I did, you've got to stop thinking about yourself for a moment. Sasuke frowned but he did look less offended. Nonetheless he tried to reassert himself by crossing his own arms. Fine. Explain yourself. Frowning, Makoto jabbed Sasuke right on the forehead with her fingers exactly like Itachi used to. The gesture made Sasuke lose his composure. You've got a lot of nerve son. Here I am trying to make you see reason, and you just talk to me like I'm your subordinate. Maybe I'm to blame for not raising you these past few years, I can admit that, but you're clearly not ready to face the truth. Even when it's right in front of you. She then turned away and stepped away from him, as if heading for the window. Where are you going, Mom? He asked, calling her, Mom, quietly, as if he was afraid to. Makoto stopped but didn't face him. Out. I still have a job to do here. Talking to you and trying to get you to open your eyes was just part of it. Apparently you need a little more time before you can accept the truth I told you. After this, I'm going back to Oto, to stay. I can't keep spying now that my identity has been compromised. Sasuke silently gasped. His mother was leaving him. Please don't. If you love me, you can't leave me. Makoto glanced at Sasuke with only the right side of her face seen by him. Sasuke, I've never stopped loving you. That doesn't mean I like you as you are though. You need to let a few things sink in before I can like you again. Now she faced him directly again, but she still looked ready to leave at any second. I'm going to come back in about a month. If you can prove to me at that point that you can be a good boy again, then I'll do something for you. If you can't, then the next time you see me, we're enemies. Sasuke silently gasped again. What? What do I have to do? Make the right decision when the council makes a move on you in a week or two. Sasuke was confused. What do you mean? You'll find out when the time comes. Makoto told him, as if she didn't want to be too specific. All I will tell you Sasuke is soon you will be in a situation where you will have to make a choice. When you choose, I will know. If you choose to be greedy and self-interested, then I will have nothing more to do with you. If you choose to be humble and unbribed, then I will offer you the chance to truly be happy. Sasuke looked hopeful. You'll help me kill Itachi. Makoto shook her head. No matter what, I will not help one of my sons kill the other. My way of helping you is a secret. Can't you tell me? Sasuke asked. Makoto shook her head again. Not until I know what you really want in life. And I'll find out before the month is over. For now, there's nothing more for me to say. I hope to see you again son, but if you tell anyone about me or what I told you, you never will again. Before Sasuke could ask anything more or try to stop here, Makoto disappeared, replaced with a piece of debris from somewhere outside, leaving Sasuke alone until his teammates came knocking at his door. Sarutobi was a smart man, despite whatever his students would say about him this day. He wasn't called the professor for nothing. He knew his students were not winning this battle nor this assault on Konoha. They had a plan, and they had contingencies for setbacks and obstacles to their success. Just like how he had strategies for if his beloved Konoha ever was invaded during his second reign. But seeing an old man in a wheelchair brought into the fight by the Yondaime Kazekage had a way of throwing him off. What the heck is going on? Am I missing something? Enma asked, voicing his summoner's confusion. I don't know, old friend, but my gut tells me asking them won't get us any answers. Sarutobi replied. Any last words, Satoru-san? Kazekage asked. Tell him not to regret what was done for him. The old man answered with the calmness of one who accepted the inevitable and embraced it rather than continued to fight it. Will do. Orochimaru said before taking out a sutra and placing it on the man's back and casting a set of 20 rapid hand signs. Edo Tensai Soul Exchange. Around the old man something that looked like a coffin formed. On the lid was the kanji for death, but it started to glow. Sarutobi felt a chill go down his spine. Whatever he's doing, I don't think I want him to succeed. With the others still occupied fighting his giant stone gorilla, Sarutobi rushed towards his pale student. He was blocked by the Kazekage. Now, I can't have you interfere and make one of my men's sacrifice meaningless, can I? You want him, you're going to have to get through me first. Hokage vs. Kazekage. Place your bets. Orochimaru joked. One Hyuga was aiming right for Hinata's heart. Before he could make a hit, a small orange blur appeared and bit onto his arm, causing him to retract his arm before any hit could be made. Sango. Perfect timing, as usual. Naruto said, happy to see his snake friend. She couldn't respond as her mouth was full at the moment. One of the other Hyugas tried to attack the snake and Naruto came to aid her. Ghost Art beckoned from the grave jutsu. He said after performing 5 hand signs, then slamming his palms on the ground. The ground under them turned dark like upturned soil, and from out of it emerged multiple ghostly arms. These arms grabbed onto all the Hyugas rather tightly, then started to pull them down. The Hyuga watched in horror as their feet started sinking into the darkened ground. Neji reacted by hitting the arms with the Juken, which destroyed the arms but only briefly. A destroyed one always reformed and grabbed another available spot. What the hell is going on? Hizashi asked when his ankles sank completely into the ground. Sango let go of her victim and slithered over to Naruto, perching on his left shoulder. Are these the ones you warned me we might have to face someday? The very same. Got any ideas? Sango asked. Naruto shook his head. Not many. But since when do I need one to fight? Jiraiya ran up and surprised one Hyuga with a kick to his head. The only reason the Hyuga didn't defend himself was because he assumed the Toad Sannin was on his side here. Jiraiya-sama. What are you doing? A different Hyuga asked. My duty here, taking down Konoha. You betrayed us. Hizashi asked. Chronologically speaking, Konoha betrayed me first, but I owe you no explanations. He then created a Rasengan and thrust it into an attacking Neji's stomach. It wouldn't kill him, but it would certainly leave a mark for quite a while. Not to mention the collision threw Neji a few meters back and made him hit the railing of the arena banisters headfirst before he fell over it and down into the arena itself. Oh, I don't care what clan you're from, that's gotta hurt. Naruto commented. Isaribi smiled and nodded. Jiraiya jumped and landed beside Naruto. No time for joking, Naruto. We need you now. It's time for our ploy to destroy Konoha's spirit. Naruto nodded. Got it, Ero-jisan. Be safe without me, girls. We will. Hinata and Isaribi said to their man before he and his snake friend disappeared, with Jiraiya leaving only a log in their place. And how exactly do you two girls plan to get out of here alive? A Hyuga asked. Hinata and Isaribi got into their stances and activated the first stage of their curse marks. Hinata was covered in several lines made of connecting tear-shaped marks, and Isaribi's marks looked more like a river current. See for yourself. Hinata said. Damn Kurenai, don't you die on me. What am I going to tell your boyfriend if you do? Who's going to be my buddy with you gone? Enko said, trying to avoid crying as she treated her ailing friend. I'm sorry, Anko, I guess I was being selfish. Kurenai stated weakly yet sarcastically. Enko looked around and saw she now was surrounded. Around her and her friend were 4 genin, Shikamaru, Ino, Choji, and Tenten, while the adult ninja were busy dealing with the snakes Enko summoned including Kogyoku. You kids got a death wish. It's 4 against 1 here. Ino said, not counting Kurenai since she was out. Then go grab 4 more and it will be a fair fight. Enko replied, not sounding like she was joking. Tenten threw 8 kunai at Enko all at once. Using one of her own, Enko deflected and blocked 6 of them. The 2 she missed hit her snake skin armor resulting in no damage at all. Out of the corner of her eye she saw Shikamaru ready his shadow and Ino ready her mind transfer while she was distracted. Smiling, Enko activated her curse mark, gaining snake-shaped streaks all over her skin. Attack me, I dare you. Shikamaru hesitated, unnerved by this strange display, though he did remain ready to retaliate if he needed to. Tenten acted similarly by not throwing more weapons but keeps them at hand ready at a moment's notice. Ino on the other hand, mind transfer jutsu. Enko smiled and allowed the attack to hit her, immediately making Shikamaru wary. But as soon as Ino was in there, screaming was heard and it looked like Enko was grabbing her own head. Ah! It hurts! It hurts! All of a sudden Enko stopped and Ino's body returned to consciousness. Choji was immediately at her side. What happened? Her chakra. It's unnatural. Evil. The Yamanaka heiress ate herself say. You're a monster. She then told Enko. The snake summoner smirked. Oh, you want to see a real monster? How about this? Now she was activating her second stage. Kakashi thrust a kunai into the neck of an Oto shinobi killing him. There, it looks like things have calmed down a bit. I better go check up on my students. Hey guy, I'm done here. Think you can? He stopped when he saw the green-clad Junin wasn't there anymore. Where did he go? Oh well, I better get going too. He headed towards outside the arena, but stopped when an approaching shadow formed around him. He jumped to his right, narrowly avoiding what looked like a large white drill that would have otherwise skewered him like a spear. 2 ninja wearing Oto symbols then landed at his left and right. The one on his right was the imposter Otokage, dressed in a black outfit with a green vest and sporting a faceplate eerily similar to what Tobirama wore but with Oto's symbol rather than Konoha's. The one to his left had pale skin and white hair, and wore loose purple pants and a loose open white shirt, sporting an Oto Hitai 8 on his forehead. Kakashi Hatake, we've heard about you. You will find this to be a rather difficult fight. The white-haired one stated calmly. Well, it's not fair that you two know me but I don't know you. Kakashi calmly said, almost sounding bored. Yet he was still on his guard, he only wanted to sound foolish to lower their likelihood of taking him serious right away. We're ninja. We don't do things fair. But if you must know, I am Yamato Tenzo. And I am Kimimaro Kagaya. Kagaya. That name feels familiar. Where have I heard it before? Kakashi asked himself. If you wish to avoid an unnecessary fight, answer one question. Where is Danzo Shimura? He's the one we're ordered to find. Kimimaro asked. Kakashi shrugged. I can honestly say I haven't a clue, but I do know that I shouldn't allow you the chance to find out. So be it. Kimimaro held out his hand, all his fingers pointed at Kakashi. Digital shrapnel. Holes appeared at the end of his fingers and small white projectiles shot out rapidly. Without his Sharingan, Kakashi's reflexes no longer were what he made them to be. He could no longer see each individual projectile and know when and how to avoid them. He spent most of the past month training himself to be coordinated without an active Sharingan again. This is why he was able to avoid a lethal hit even though 2 of Kimimaro's attacks hit him. Did he just shoot his finger bones out of his hand? Kakashi asked himself. That's it. The Kagaya were that bone-wielding clan from Kiri, rumored to be the one who started the anti-bloodline behavior in Kiri. What's one of them doing here? Dance of the Camellia. Kimimaro then sprouted a bone spike from his upper arm that he pulled right out of his body then held in his hand. This bone looked just like a hiltless sword. Wood-style 4-pillar prison jutsu. Yamato said behind Kakashi, catching the former Anbu's attention. Wood-style. That's impossible. Yet the sight of a wooden cage forming around him proved otherwise. What the hell kind of village do you people come from? The sound worked best in silence. Kimimaro told him. That kunoichi I faced in waves said the same thing. Say what you want about this people, they understand the importance of deception. Kakashi thought while he was also trying to think up a way out of this. Kimimaro approached him swiftly hoping to impale this in a painful spot. Kakashi had little room to dodge, but Kimimaro did not expect him to just stand there and take it. Nope, the Konoha nin would try and defend himself, and Kimimaro wanted to see how. It would be alright as long as Yamato was there to provide backup. Fire-style Grand Fireball Jutsu. Kakashi said before creating a gigantic fireball that both burned his wooden prison and moved toward his enemy. Exoskeletal armor. The white-haired Oto nin suddenly grew bone plates all over him, deflecting the fire attack and leaving him unharmed. Wood-style chakra binding roots. Yamato said in an effort to keep Kakashi unable to do much more. Large tree roots burst out of the ground surrounding the former Cyclops. Reikiri. Kakashi declared, creating his electric attack. Using it he slashed the approaching wooden limbs, keeping them off him completely. He had to stop when he felt something hit the back of his right shoulder. He turned and saw it was Kimimaro's bone sword. Damn, I fight one and leave myself open to the other. I need to take them both down at once. But how? Inoichi was inside Gaara's mind. What he expected to see was an empty white void where he could either take control of the boy or search for memories. What he saw was a vast desert with a gigantic pyramid in the center of it. On the side of the pyramid was the kanji for 1, and a closed door. But it wasn't a stone door like one would expect on a pyramid, but rather it was a barred door better suited for a prison cell. Bad move coming here Konoha ninja. Gaara's voice said from behind the Yamanaka head, who turned around to face the young sand wielder. How can he be here? In all my experience I've never seen the consciousness of my target actually appear before me when I was in their mind. Inoichi immediately got ready to fight. This may be your mind, but that just makes you all the more vulnerable to my methods. But can you handle 2 opponents? Gaara said, pointing to the pyramid. Inoichi looked back and saw something that made him sweat in panic. Behind the barred door he could see a giant eye, a yellow one with a cross-shaped black slit pupil and 4 black dots between the 4 points of the slits. And if that wasn't bad enough, he could practically taste the killing intent coming out of the pyramid. What the hell is that? Say hello to my little friend. Gaara joked. Inoichi felt the sand underneath his feet start to move, pulling him towards the pyramid door. Oh hell no. He jumped away, getting away from the sand pull. Sand shuriken. Gaara said, throwing 3 sand discs at Inoichi. The first one struck but he avoided the other 2. I've heard of your type of ninja Konoha-san. You place yourself in the mind of your target to gather information or use their body. But it works best when the target is unaware or weak-willed. Too bad for you I was neither when you attacked. And to make matters worse, my consciousness isn't the only one here, so taking me over is practically impossible for you. Gaara threw some more sand weapons at Inoichi, who worked at dodging. While he dodged, he had to keep moving away from the pyramid the sand current was pulling him towards. Damn it, I'm in a tough spot here. If I focus on the kid I'm vulnerable to the thing in the pyramid. But whenever I get away from it that gives the kid a better chance to hit me. What do? I can either get out of here or. Getting an idea, Inoichi ran towards the pyramid and jumped, landing on the side of the stone building. There. I'm away from the sand and the kid so I can prepare a proper jutsu. Gaara smiled. You really think you're safe there? Take a better look. Inoichi saw that several of the bricks on the pyramid walls were actually replaced with small barred opening, resembling gutter vents. From out of them brewed tendrils of sand that quickly looked like clawed hands, each having blue markings running along them and black tips at the end of each claw. What the heck is in here? Inoichi almost screamed, trying to fend off the multiple appendages. Shukaku the Sand Spirit, aka the Ikibi no Tanuki. Gaara calmly answered with a victorious smile. This kid's a Jinchuriki. This is out of my league. Inoichi thought before ending his jutsu and leaving the mindscape. There. That should stabilize you for the time being. Kabuto told his ailing student. I don't have time for more, so we need to get you out of here for now. Thanks sensei. Zaku said, feeling better but still woozy. Sensei. Kin called. I don't think doing that is going to be easy right now. Kabuto looked at his student and saw Guy standing before Kin and Dosu. I'd hate to have to crush such youthful spirits and growing potential, but I do have a job to do. Pity it had to come to this. Kabuto stepped forward. Guys, let me handle this one. You two get Zaku out of harm's way. Got it, sensei. Kin said before she and Dosu went to assist their downed teammate. Kabuto eyed Guy, who made no move to intervene. Not going to bother them. I completely understand your desire to protect your students. Besides, I don't exactly like fighting kids if I can avoid it. I hope you have no qualms about fighting me. The bespectacled medic said as he created a chakra scalpel on each hand then charged in. Guy dodged so quickly even Kabuto couldn't see him move. Indeed. He then landed a kick on him from behind, a kick strong enough to send Kabuto flying off the rooftop and over the neighboring building before landing on the ground. Damn, that hurt. I think he cracked a vertebrae at least and maybe even bruised an organ. Before Kabuto could get back up, Guy reappeared in front of him. Are you finished already? Guy asked. Kabuto swiftly got back on his feet, though his back hurt when he landed. Not even close. How are you even able to stand up? Usually when I land a hit of that caliber without any training weights on in a location such as that my target can barely even breathe. Guy said. As soon as the invasion became apparent he had removed his own weights, allowing him to move at his max. I'm a good healer. Kabuto replied. Ever since that sick experiment I was forced to be in before I left this village with Orochimaru-sama, I've had healing abilities on par with a Jinchuriki. My only concern is if this guy can damage me better or faster than I can recover. Guy popped his knuckles. Good. Then let us continue. But before he could make a move, a large amount of Senbon hit him from behind and to his right, striking him in many points on his back. Within seconds he fell face first and made no further moves. Kabuto was honestly surprised. What the? The next thing he knew was a repeated attack at him that hit him too. After that, he fell on his back and saw only black. What the hell is that? Fu smirked. Your worst nightmare. Times 7. Her chakra took on no shape, but the dangerous intent behind it was sensible to everyone there. The Hyuga Anbu was the first to make a move towards her. Fu smirked and performed two hand seals. Ninja art, hidden in scale powder jutsu. She then exhaled a large cloud of fine powder that quickly expanded, keeping all the Anbu's attention on her. Haku and Sasama covered their eyes right away, though Haku then make a few one-handed hand signs. In the bright daylight with little shade in the alley, the sunlight bounced off the fine powder and reflect enough light to rival the sun. Each Ana blocked their eyes as best they could, but the Hyuga was the worst off. The bright blinding light was coming from all directions, so with his Byakugan on he was the most affected by this. My eyes. Even after deactivating his Dujutsu he had the worst headache he had ever had in his life. Haku couldn't see what was going on, but she grinned triumphantly. Looks like those ice mirrors I made to reflect and enhance the light worked perfectly. Feeling the cat mask Anbu holding her captive loose in her grip, the ice wielder slipped away silently. She was as blind as the others were, but at least now she didn't have a sword against her neck. Fu fortunately was the only one unaffected by the jutsu, and moved to gather her teammates. But first she had to get these annoying Anbu out of the way. She ran right up to the Hyuga Anbu. Earth-style headhunter jutsu. She touched him and instantly his body sunk in the ground up to his neck, leaving him easy prey for a decapitation move. Then she approached the pig-masked Anbu who was standing close to Sasama, who was still downed. Ninja art. Glitter razor torture jutsu. She exhaled another burst of glowing powder that covered this man from head to toe. The pig Anbu soon screamed and tore at his body. What the hell is this? Fu smiled seeing this man suffering. She was taught the powder techniques by Shibuki as a gesture of trust to her, even when she chose to make Oto her permanent home rather than Taki. For the most part, they were distracting or irritating techniques that incapacitated an enemy while the support handled them directly. This move, the glitter razor torture, was one of the few methods where actual damage was done to the victim. The powder embedded itself in the victim's skin and clothes, striking nerve points, making the body feel like small razors were cutting into it everyone all at once. The cat Anbu was now the only one there able to fight, even though it was still too bright for her to see. I can't fight effectively here. I better get out of here. Maybe Hayate-kun can help me out. She immediately shushined out of the area and took off her mocks, trying to regain her vision. An Anbu on the move landed beside her. You alright Yugao-san? Yugao rubbed her eyes. I will be. Watch out for a kunoichi with green hair. There's something sinister about her. Many Hyuga came in, but Hinata created chakra blades that emerged from her palms. 5 trigrams protective blade dance. Swinging her arms around, she kept any Hyuga from getting too close to her. Those that did got cut for it. Hizashi had to admit he was impressed with this maneuver. It reminds me of the rotation, but here she sacrifices the overall effectiveness of the defense to create an offense-defense combo. Impressive, but unless you're flexible enough to react quickly you leave yourself open too much. While Hinata was handling that, Isaribi took out one of her storage scrolls. Oh no you don't. A female Hyuga elder shouted, throwing a kunai at the swimming enthusiast. She blocked with one of her trench knives and opened the scroll before biting her thumb and smearing blood on a seal. Water's not going to do you any good here. There's no place for you to contain it. A Hyuga with a mustache told her. He was right, the surrounding area had too many places for any water to drain out in. Who said I was using water? Isaribi asked. A closer look showed this seal did not have the kanji for water, but rather the one for person. A large cloud formed around the scroll, blinding even the Byakugan momentarily. When it cleared, all the Hyuga stopped what they were doing, too surprised to do anything else. It can't be. It is. How is this possible? Standing in the dissipating smoke was Hitomi Hibiki, formerly Hitomi Hyuga, wife of the late Hiyashi Hyuga. And she did not look happy. Hello everyone. Miss me? Hi. Hitomi. Hizashi asked. Hitomi looked at him but her expression did not change. Hizashi. Call off your men. You know what I can do if you don't. She looked at each of them, giving her darkest frown for the elders. She wasn't imagining things when she felt they were the most surprised to see her alive and well. How can this be? We were told you died due to difficulties in giving birth that were so great you had to be taken to Tsunade-sama but she couldn't save you. Hizashi asked, genuinely surprised though not upset to see her. Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Hitomi answered. Exaggerated. The story was downright falsified. An elder stated. Like I care what any of you think. You're the ones who tried to kill me. Hizashi jerked back in surprise. Kill you? Hitomi smirked. Why don't you ask the elders exactly why I had a difficult birth in the first? She stopped when one of the Hyuga 20 years older than herself threw a kunai at her, trying to silence her. Hinata used her chakra blade to cut the kunai and stop it. Don't you dare hurt my mother. She shouted, glaring at her former family. Then she started to activate the second stage of her mark. The Hyugas wanted in fear as the young girl before them started to sprout white and brown feathers and her hair became a bit spikier, though not quite like Naruto's. Her hands morphed to resemble yellow-scaled bird legs and feet shaped like human arms and hands but tipped with long black talons. Behind her grew bird wings covered almost entirely in brown feathers on the top side and white with brown horizontal stripes on the underside, and tail feather brown on both sides. Her lips hardened into what looked like a bird's beak, though it was still shaped like a human mouth, and her Byakugan became black. Right now, she looked like some combination of human being and falcon. My turn. Isaribi said before activating her own curse mark. Her skin became a soft green hue and scaled, though her underside and face became more of a pale yellow color with green stripes under her eyes. Her arms got thicker and sprouted small fins on the back of the forearms, her fingernails got sharper and could not be distinguished from her fingers. The same happened to her legs, but her toes were webbed unlike her fingers. Her hair blended with her skin causing her to become bald yet her long bangs on the side of her face remained, just transformed into what looked like a vestigial set of arms. On top her head there emerged a fish's dorsal fin. Basically her sea creature form is her second stage in this story. What the hell are you? A bald Hyuga asked. Pissed off Kunoichi. Hinata answered. Inoichi returned to his own body and saw his allies trying to fight the other Suna genin. Tamari and Kankuro were keeping the Konoha ninja effectively at bay while only struggling to avoid Shusa's large arms. When his eyes returned towards Gaara, who was just standing there ignoring everything yet protected by his automatic sand defenses, Inoichi saw a smile on the red-haired boy that chilled him to the bone. Target the redhead first. He's the most dangerous one here, he shouted to his comrades. Not one to argue with his teammate, Shikaku started to get ready for a shadow binding for Gaara. The Suna Nin saw it coming and let his sand cover the ground. Sand wave overflow. The sand rose to create a wall-like wave that if made out of water would have been perfect to surf on. This wave interfered with both Shikaku's and Shusa's methods, but didn't make them stop trying. Suddenly the wave rushed forward as if reaching out to crush them from above. Shikaku immediately backed away as quick as he could, and he wasn't the only one. Clever ploy. This attacks us and prevents my shadow from reaching anyone at the same time. I need to try from another vantage point. Shusa seemed to be the only one not bothered by the sand attack. Expansion Jutsu full body. The large ninja now became even larger, gigantic enough to step on a small building like it was a tin can. The sand wave did nothing to him, feeling mostly like a splash against his ankle. All the ninjas stopped moving, even the Suna Nin, awaiting his next reaction. Gaara grinned. You're not the only one who can get bigger. All of a sudden the sand around him came back to him and started to swiftly pile up. Tamari and Kankuro got away as quick as they could. Shusa reached down trying to stop the growing sand pile, but it seemed to push back against him just as hard, and it was even taking shape. What's going on here? Where's he getting all this sand? Shikaku asked. He may be using the ground he's standing on, converting it into sand. Or maybe he had storage seals containing more. Inoichi suggested. Shusa tried even harder to keep this growing sand pile down, even pressing his whole body against it like a sumo wrestler would. Bad idea, for the mound grew arms and they grabbed him, digging their claws into him where his armor didn't cover. He struggled to pull back and saw the sand form a head on top. A head with raccoon eyes and ears, and a mouth full of jagged teeth. Behind the sand construct appeared to be a tail made from hundreds of smaller tanuki tails pressed together. From the forehead emerged the top half of Gaara's body. Shukaku, go ahead and have a little fun. Just remember, only target the Konoha shinobi. Gaara said. The Biju under him smiled. Thanks kid. This will be a blast. Shikamaru, Ino, Choji, and Tenten watched in horror as Anko transformed in front of them. Ino even tried to perform a genjutsu release but it didn't work. The mark spread all over Anko's skin until it was colored red and yellow in horizontal stripes, but then it became scaled like a reptile. Her purple hair became dark red and the ends started to look like yellow-tipped snake tails. Her eyes gained thin black rings around them and the pupils turned yellow with black slits. The ends of her fingers changed to look like snake heads with permanently closed mouths. Anko smiled, revealing serpentine fangs and a forked tongue. What the hell are you? Ino asked, scared to face such an opponent. Tenten threw a shuriken, but Anko ducked and held out her left arm. The limb stretched like rubber and grabbed her right calf. She was pulled towards the Oto Kunoichi and suddenly the arm wrapped around her and tightened. It's like she's trying to constrict me. Tenten thought, already struggling to breathe. Thinking quickly, Choji started to prepare an attack. Expansi, he was cut off by a kunai to his neck held from behind. He turned and saw Kurenai, her first stage mark active, decorating her skin with chains of connected diamond shapes. What the hell? Aren't you supposed to be? He looked back at where he thought she was, only to see an empty spot. Genjutsu. I tricked you all into thinking I was still down and out, so I could sneak up on you all. Kurenai replied. Ino held out her hands. Mind destruction, she stopped when she felt a second Kurenai holding a kunai against her throat. How are you? This has got to be another genjutsu. Shikamaru said, now captured by a third Kurenai. Where's the real one? Seeing the others were held up for the moment, Anko held out her right arm and stretched it too, constricting Choji. Then she lifted her right leg and it even stretched, allowing her to constrict Ino too. Once held tightly, the Kurenais by the genin faded away, leaving the real one holding Shimakuru. Looks like I'm the only one who has any chance of getting us out of this until reinforcements arrive. What a drag, Shikamaru thought. Sarutobi tried to hit the cage with his adamantine staff, but Suna's leader blocked with a gold staff of his own. Both were pressing as hard as they could against the other, trying to make the other cage slip up and reveal an opening. In the background, Sarutobi noticed that his giant stone gorilla had not hurt any of the others yet. It couldn't seem to move fast enough to hit any of them, but at least Tsunade wasn't able to shatter it in one punch. At the same time, Orochimaru looked like he was waiting for something. Sarutobi, I demand an answer for why you tried what you did to my village. Kazekage told the old man. Sarutobi did not look intimidated. I did no harm to your village. Any harm that happened was your own fault. It was you and you know it. No, it was you and you know it. Sarutobi countered. All I did was suggest something. You're the one who chose to take it seriously. Did I order you to treat your Jinchuriki like something less than human? Did I order you to make his training hell until he snapped and would lash out at you and Suna until nothing was left but rubble? Did I? No, I didn't. I merely made a comment. Whatever happened, it was because you chose to take my threat seriously. You're just as mad at yourself as you are at me, you just won't admit it. Thinking quickly, the Kazekage tried a sweep kick to unbalance the old Hokage. Sarutobi saw it and jumped above it, but unfortunately this gave Kazekage the opportunity to attack again with his staff. The end hit Sarutobi's helmet and knocked it off, giving the old man a bit of a bruise on his left cheek. Maybe you're right. But what I really want to know is why did you give me that comment in the first place? What did you have to gain from telling me to treat my own like a monster? Did you want Suna to be destroyed? We were your allies and posed no threat to you. If anything, getting rid of us would only weaken you because you have no support if someone attacked you. Like now. Kushina was heard stated, using her chains to immobilize the gorilla golem. Sarutobi was surprised. They caught it. How? Kazekage smiled. What did you expect? We're in a finite area thanks to the barrier. Not to mention I placed a lot of my gold rust in the rubble you created it from, so now it's really slow and heavy. I'm kind of surprised it lasted as long as it has. This thing's got to have a weak spot. Tsunade said. She then ran up the stone body and got on its face. Might as well try here. She cocked her fist and thrust a punch right between the eyes of the stone gorilla. It shattered like it was made of dry clay. Kushina recalled her chains as Suand landed on her feet. Nice job Tsunade-sama. You got it on the first try. Kazekage recalled all his now free gold dust. Now, answer my question, damn it. What were you trying to accomplish when you tried to turn me against my son? Me and the Wind Daimyo had an agreement. He got tired of funding your village but knew if he got involved it would only give him bad propaganda. And I couldn't invade you since my shinobi aren't used to desert terrain and my Jinchuriki at the time was too young to be useful. So I proposed that allowing your village to destroy itself was the best way to handle it. The Wind Daimyo cut off funding and missions little by little while you were supposed to drive your own weapon insane and against you. With Suna gone, Konoha receives more work, more pay, better status, and one less Jinchuriki that could be used against us. Kazekage glared, looking just like Gaara right then. You were hoping to destroy my entire village and every innocent in it, just to put a few more Ryo in your wallet. Ninja kill for pay. That's in the job description. Your daimyo decided he'd rather give my village mission when he needed work than pay to keep your village supplied and happy. As for me, would you turn down money from two daimyos? Sarutobi replied. I gotta agree with him there. Enma said, returning to his monkey form. In a business sense, every other village is just competition. Even the allies. And if your own daimyo deserted you, why should Hiruzen have pity for you? Kazekage stood there, changing his gold staff into a long sword. As a businessman and a politician in charge of an entire village, I cannot fault you for that. If it had been the other way around I'd likely have done the same. However, as a father, I will make you pay. Wait just a moment Kazekage-sama. Orochimaru calmly said, making the two cages turn towards him. Next to the snake Sanin was Jiraiya and Naruto, who had used the substitution technique to get in and out of the barrier thanks to specially made seals both wore for this exact purpose and moment. Ready you two? Ready. They both said. Oh Naruto, remove your disguise. It will make things go smoother later. Orochimaru added. Gotcha Jisen. Using his chakra, Naruto forced the hair dye and makeup off him, revealing his blonde hair and whisker marks. It may have been 10 years, but Sarutobi immediately knew who he was. The name, the whiskers, the hair, the fact he was with Orochimaru. Naruto's been alive all this time. Now Orochimaru. Jiraiya told his pale teammate. Orochimaru nodded and performed a large number of hand signs while Naruto formed the tiger sign. Edo Tensei Totality. The lid on the coffin burst open, causing a large amount of gray smoke to rush out and make everyone cough a bit. Naruto now. Orochimaru told the young blonde. Naruto came up to the coffin, flared his chakra, and made direct contact with whatever was inside it. There was a glow of white chakra that soon turned blue and got brighter. Almost too bright to look at. Then it stopped, and Naruto stepped aside with a smile. Sarutobi saw a silhouette of a person come out. Is this Tobirama-sensei's jutsu he was experimenting on? Did Orochimaru somehow make it work? You can't do this. There's a reason the Nadaime declared it forbidden. I'm not the Nadaime, am I sensei? Orochimaru asked. The smoke cleared, and standing there was probably the last person Sarutobi expected to see. A tall young man with blonde hair that framed his face, wearing an open off-white cloak that had red-orange flames on the bottom, over a Junin vest, black cloth arm covers, blue pants, and black shoes. There was no mistaking this person. Am I Minato? The revived Yondaime Hokage blinked. Huh. Where am I? How did I? Minato-kun. Kushina happily said, rushing up to her husband. I'm so glad you're back. She hugged him, but he didn't react. Say something, dear. How did you get so old? He innocently asked. Idiot. She yelled before hitting him on top of his head. I'm not old. And it's not my fault you haven't aged a day while I've aged 13 years. 13 years? Minato asked. Jiraiya came up to his student. Minato, I'm not sure how to tell you this, but you've been dead for 13 years while your wife was in a coma. Wow, you're really got an old arrow sensei. Minato joked, this time making his wife laugh. If you can crack jokes, perhaps you can help us fight. Jiraiya said before pointing to Sarutobi, who was still flabbergasted by all this. Remember your wish for Naruto to be seen as a hero. Well, he's responsible for ensuring that Konoha saw Naruto as quite possibly the furthest thing from hero as you can get. What? Minato asked. What are you talking about? Something tells me we're not getting out of this alive, Hiruzen. Enma told his partner. Kushina grabbed her husband's hand tenderly. Minato, I'm afraid we don't have time to explain everything, so to summarize, Konoha disregarded your last wish and it's all thanks to Sarutobi. The Sandaime Hokage was quite nervous now but avoided showing it. Only one thing was keeping him from surrendering. Here I've been fighting 3 Sannin, a cage, and Kushina. All this time they could have attacked together and finished me off at any moment, and yet they haven't. All they've been doing is wearing me out. Were they waiting for this? Why? Why make Minato finish me off instead if they're the ones out for my blood? This can only mean they brought back Minato for a different reason. I better get rid of him first. If Konoha saw the Yondaime resurrected yet fighting for the enemy, it would demoralize us for years to come. Wait, is that why they brought him back? Minato looked at the older man. Sarutobi, what does that mean? His tone was uncertain, yet close to being threatening. They're lying to you, Minato. They're turned traitor and are just making up gibberish to get you to betray the village you love so much. Kushina shook her head as if disappointed by hearing this. Minato, you trust me, right? Of course, Kushina. Then trust me when I say this man here deserves to die. In our absence he's turned Konoha into a cesspool and made our sacrifice meaningless. Our son isn't even able to live here anymore. If there's anyone I want dead more than Madara Uchiha, it's Sarutobi. Needless to say, Minato was surprised to hear his wife say this. You want me to help you kill Sarutobi? How do I know this isn't some kind of trick and you're some kind of enemy in disguise? I first said I loved you after you rescued me from Kumo and complimented my hair. I first kissed you when you made Chunin and kicked the ass of that Iwa nin who had been hitting on me. And I first told you about the Kyuubi the day you, accidentally, got to second base. Kushina told him. Mom, I'm right here, you know. Naruto said, bothered to hear that about his parents. Sorry, Naruto. Kushina said with mirth, showing she enjoyed embarrassing her son a little. Naruto. Minato asked, looking at his no longer infant son who had a snake on his shoulders. How old are you now? 13 Dad. But we need to save the catching up for later. Right now we're in a fight and we need your help. Seeing the two transformed girls unsettled the Hyugas, and they were even more unsettled when their Byakugans told them this was no mere illusion. They had truly changed shape. Hitmi almost laughed at the gaping faces of her former clan. Surprised. Say hello to our village's secret weapon. Your village has shapeshifters. Impossible. And yet you see two right before your all-seeing eyes. Hitomi added. Hinata then jumped into the air, her wings flapping keeping her up. And this isn't just for show either. With her lips hardened like a beak, she kept making clicking sounds when she spoke. Hizashi looked worried, but he soon confidently smiled. Nice intimidation ploy, but I see a huge flaw in it. The bird girl cannot attack and keep her distance at the same time or else she would have done it by now. The fact that I'm still standing here talking proves that. And the fish girl looks like she won't last long outside water. So Hitomi, you're the only real threat here and you're too outnumbered to significantly harm us first. The way I see it, you've lost. And that's exactly what we wanted you to see. Hitomi stated. Before anyone could speak, a bunch of pipes burst in the area, spraying water all over the place. Isaribi used her chakra to hold it all in place and form a gigantic water prison containing them all while Hinata hovered outside the aqua dome. Did they set up some bombs on the pipes timed or triggered for this moment just for this purpose? Hizashi asked himself, holding his breath and struggling in the water. Isaribi and Hitomi looked at each other with light grins. Hitomi nodded then suddenly disappeared in a puff of smoke, sending a small wave through the water with her removal. Where did she go? One foe the Hyugas asked before realizing talking underwater wasn't a good idea. Isaribi heard the question clearly but didn't respond. Instead she moved through the water like a fish. Or to be more precise, like a shark given the fact she had her mouth open ready to bite. The Hyuga got ready to hit her tenketsu, since the Jukin could still work underwater albeit much slower. He hit her shoulders but she hit him too, biting his left forearm hard enough to snap the bone and draw blood. Another Hyuga saw this and panicked. I'm outta here. He tried swimming out of the water prison. The water prison technique usually worked two ways, either it was small yet pressured enough that the captive could barely move, or large and unpressured so the captive could move yet something else, usually something dangerous, could be in the water with them. This one used here was the second type, so the Hyugas could swim out if they could reach the edge. Isaribi ignored him so he reached the barrier and took a breath. His vision was blurred thanks to some water in his eyes and his Byakugan wasn't active, but he could sense a sudden shadow appear. Before he could really see the light blocker, he felt a slash across his eyes. Og! Screaming in utter agony, his hand covered his wound, and he tried to activate his Byakugan, only to discover he couldn't. He was blind, and bleeding heavily. Hizashi saw what happened with his Byakugan. Clever. The fish girl attacks us within the water, but if we leave the bird girl attacks us from there and can even rip our eyes out with her claws. Blind or drowned, what a choice. What do I do? Shikamaru asked himself. I could easily capture the snake lady with my shadow given her limbs are all over the place, but that will leave me open to the one behind me. And if I target her instead, I'm still vulnerable to the snake lady who may have a sneak attack up her sleeve. Sad fact is, that's actually my best chance here given she likely needs that leg to keep standing. I better go with the second option. If it's not too much trouble, could you tell me exactly why your village is trying to destroy ours? Shikamaru asked. What did we ever do to you? Who said we came here to destroy? Kurenai asked above a whisper. What? The Nara heir asked, not expecting that answer. I don't recall anyone ever saying we wanted to wipe Konoha off the map. Then why are you doing this? Shikamaru repeated, a little anger in his voice. Me personally. Because my cage says your village needs a gigantic kick in the ass and I agree. As for him personally, that's not for me to say. Kurenai then pulled back and stepped away. Oh, and in case you can't comprehend this, I'm well aware you've got me in your shadow. To get out, all I have to do is one thing. Would you like to see it? A chakra-infused trench kunai flew past the Oto Kunoichi, cutting off some of her hair. Get the hell away from my student. Asuma yelled. Kurenai smirked, only able to look at Asuma because Shikamaru turned his head that way too. Tell him to release me and I'd be glad to. As long as he has me snared like this, I'm afraid I'm incapable of granting your request. Asuma-sensei, worry about the others too. They could be close to death by now. Shikamaru shouted. He was right. Ino, Choji, and Tenten were running out of air and their vision was starting to go black. Tenten used her free arm to try stabbing Anko's limb with a kunai but the snake summoner wouldn't let go. Ino was trying to use her clan's mind tricks again but she couldn't properly aim and there was no way she was going to repeat trying to get inside her head. Pulling out his trench knives, Asuma faced Anko while keeping Kurenai in his sight. Shikamaru, keep that one busy while I fight this one. No problem. Shikamaru replied. Yes problem. Kurenai joked as she activated her second stage. Shuza and Shukaku were at it like two gigantic sumo wrestlers. At their feet the smaller forces were fighting too, though they couldn't help looking at the giants on occasion. Damn, this thing's like fighting a monster. Shuza told himself as he strained to hold back the sand construct. It was harder for him because Shukaku's body was denser and had the advantage of having claws to grip with. Even with his chakra-reinforced muscles those claws hurt. Acting on impulse Shuza cocked his head back then slammed his head into Shukaku's. The giant tanuki was dazed and his grip loosened, while Gaara was moved to a safer location to avoid being caught in the crossfire. In that brief moment Shuza broke away and took a step back. He cocked his fist and fired a hard solid punch right to the Biju's jaw, hoping it would further slow down the giant demon. But to the Akamichi leader's shock, Shukaku caught his fist with his mouth. Let go of my hand. Shuza demanded, trying to get free but the tanuki wasn't listening. Then he bit down, severing his right hand from his arm. Ah! Shuza screamed, pulling back with his left hand trying to apply pressure to stop the bleeding. The pain of the injury affected his jutsu and forced him to return to normal size again. Shuza! Inoichi shouted as he approached his wounded friend and pulled out some medical wrap. Here, let me help stop the bleeding. Don't forget the enemy Inoichi. Shuza said, then saw his now normal size removed hand fall to the ground in front of him. I sure hope this can be reattached. Got a sealing scroll. I'm on it. The Yamanaka leader said as he went to get the hand. Shukaku's footstep stopped him, since the Biju stepped right on the severed hand without even realizing it. Apparently he's on it instead. Then its tail hit the ground hard sending a shockwave throughout the area knocking many people off their feet or out of the trees. The shockwave broke Shikaku's concentration when he was about to trap Konkuro in his shadow so the puppet user remained free and his Karasu shot out a few poisoned Senbon. They struck some Anbu who wouldn't feel the effect right away but would be no threat when they did. Tamari was beating back a few more Anbu with her fan, now being assisted by Baki in the process. What took you so long, sensei? I was busy taking care of the Anbu in other places. But once I saw the Shukaku I figured that was my signal to make sure you three were still breathing. Reinforcements shouldn't be far behind me. Tamari looked behind her and saw a wave of Suna Anbu coming to their aid. She was slightly disappointed that Naruto wasn't with them. Ruto-kun, stay safe for me. Kakashi was still in a tight spot, but he had an idea that he thought just might work. What he did was create a single shadow clone. 2 against 2 are better odds, and my odds improve more if the clone fights the wood user instead of the bone user. I'd rather just leave, but if they're looking for a specific person, my best way to help out is keeping them away from said person. With that, the real Kakashi charged towards Kimimaro while the clone went towards Yamato, both armed with Chidoris. The clone wouldn't last long after doing one of those but it wouldn't need to if it hit the wood user rather than the wood. The clone was quickly getting closer to Yamato, lightning blade ready to pierce. Yamato formed a hand sign and something wooden covered his front side and took on his image. Then it broke free from him, creating a wood clone that got right in front of Kakashi's clone and took the hit for the real Yamato. The impact of the attack destroyed the wood clone and the lack of chakra to continue made Kakashi's clone dispel. Meanwhile, the real Kakashi was close to striking Kimimaro. The white-haired Kagaya just stood there like Kakashi was a mere fly pretending to be a bee. He reached behind himself and winced a small bit. Dance of the Clematis. Vine. With that, he quickly pulled out his spinal column and used it like a whip to hit Kakashi. Without his Sharingan, Kakashi wasn't able to see the attack given using the Chidori now gave him tunnel vision. The bone whip struck his side and made him skid across the ground for a moment, but he stopped himself and got back on his feet, holding the cut he now had on his left abdominal area. Did he just rip his spine out of his body? How could he still be able to stand and move with that body part taken out? Medically it's impossible. Unless his spinal nerves are still connected and a new set of vertebrae have already grown in the original's place. Dance of the Clematis, Flower. Kimimaro added, bone armor sprouting from his left arm and spiraling together to create a flower-like shield encompassing his entire arm and tipped with a point. Yamato got beside his ally, hands ready to make his next jutsu. Kakashi didn't like his odds here. This is out of my league. I can't face them both on my own for much longer, but maybe I can do one more thing before I retreat. He started a long set of hand signs, and saw Yamato was starting a long but different set too. Earth-style Earth Dragon Jutsu. He said as he finished and pressed his hand on the ground. Wood-style Forest Dragon Jutsu. Yamato said at the same time with his own hand being pressed to the ground. In front of Kakashi the earth rose up and took on the form of a serpentine dragon ready to attack whatever was in front of it. In front of Yamato a nearly identical dragon made of wood and sprouting some branches and leaves, like a tree, came out of the ground too. The two draconian constructs stared at each other, and then lunged at each other like angry cobras. Neither one had an apparent elemental advantage over the other, and the clash of the two combined with constricting and biting tore the two to pieces. You're good, I'll give you that. Yamato told Kakashi. But I bet having your Sharingan gone has greatly affected you, copycat Kakashi. Not so much, I can't keep fighting you. Kakashi claimed. But why are you after the man you're after? Why should we tell you? Kimimaro calmly asked back. All you need to know is we are. Before more fighting could continue, a new figure jumped into the area, facing Yamato and Kimimaro and away from Kakashi. They wore a normal Konoha Anbu outfit, but the mask was blank, pure white, and a hood concealed the person's hair. Kimimaro-sama, Yamato-sama, the hideout of Danzo-san has been located. Please follow me. The two Oto nin were surprised, as was Kakashi, but Kimimaro looked right at the silver-haired Konoha nin as he recalled the bones on his arm back into his body. Be grateful we have no further business with you, Hataki-san. Now we're going after our true target. Not if I Santo, Kakashi said, but nonetheless the three in front of him shushined away, preventing him from doing anything more. Seeing a discarded bone, he got an idea and summoned Pakun. What's up, Kakashi? The pug casually asked. I need you to track the scent of the person this belonged to if you can. The former Anbu said, showing the finger bone Kimimaro had used not long ago. Whoever lost this must be in pain. Pakun commented before sniffing it. The scent is too faint and unspecific. I doubt any canine could track it. You'd be better off with an aburame for this. Looks like I'll have to find them the old-fashioned way. Kakashi said before sending Pakun home and heading out to see how else he could defend Konoha. So what should we do now? Sasama asked as she and her teammates got away from the Anbu. Right now the three kunoichi were standing atop a building watching the invasion play out. They could see the purple barrier close to the stadium, small explosions in random spots, and even Shukaku fight in the distance. Part of me wants to go help my fellow Jinchuriki, but my cautious side says two of us fighting in one spot might cause more trouble. Fu mentioned. We should keep up our objective and keep the village defense occupied and away from our forces. Haku offered. But where can we do the most damage? Would you like a hand? An approaching voice asked. Subsonic-san. What are you doing here? Sasama asked. Just finishing up some personal business. Now I'm itching to get some tension out of my system. And I know just where to do it. Where? The three genin kunoichi asked. Subsonic smirked under her mask. We've got forces handling the Hokage and forces handling the Anbu. Some forces are trying to find a dirty rat named Danzo. He's going to be hard to find, but fortunately in my time here I've learned where his hidden base is. Want to help me storm the place? How did you find it? Haku asked. Technically, I didn't. Subsonic said, confusing the girls. Oh, you didn't know. My line of work allowed me to get access to a good number of the ninja here, but I didn't work alone. Like Jiraiya-sama, I had agents scattered to help me. Oto has its own spy network here in Konoha, with me as the acting head and messenger. So there's more than one subsonic? Sasama asked. Oh no, not at all. I'm the only subsonic. But I do have helpers, and right now they should be making things difficult for Konoha. Who are they? You'll find out later. Now let's go see what they found. Subsonic said before leaving, and the three kunoichi followed. The Hyugas were getting desperate. They couldn't hold their breath much longer, but each time any of them went to get out of the water bubble, Hinata was right there to blind them. And that was if Isaribi herself couldn't get to them first. They had been there less than 2 minutes and already the water was quite bloody. Now that didn't matter. The trapped Hyugas were running out of air and the need to breathe was overpowering all other cognitive functions. All the Hyugas that could still move were swimming in all different directions, hoping that the two transformed girls couldn't target them all this way. Fortunately they were right, since they outnumbered the Oto Genin 6-1. Isaribi could only stop one of them while Hizashi and 10 others managed to get some air, and Hinata could only target one of them. So with that, Hizashi and 9 others got out of the water prison jutsu, coughing heavily. From behind them, the water prison exploded like a bomb, sending a strong wave of water at their disoriented backsides and pushing them forward. Right into the walls and railings of the surrounding area. A recovering Neji who had been trying to get back to help his clansmen had been hit by the wave too and sent back over the railing again. When Hizashi and the others recovered, they saw Hinata perched on the railing like a bird and Isaribi recollecting water near herself but not covered in it. What do you want with us? He asked, showing a little fear for once. With Hinata's beak mouth it was hard to tell if she was smiling, but her eyes showed a hint of mirth. Nothing, except for you to not interfere in the rest of our army. We knew your group would prioritize claiming me over defending your home, so we put up a struggle and kept you from doing your duty to protect Konoha. Your village is falling and you did nothing to stop it because you're more concerned about that power desire you have. Isaribi added. You don't honestly think this is the entire Hyuga clan to you. Others are fighting in the battle as we speak. One of the other Hyuga shouted. Oh, we know. But as long as you're here and not out there, you can't guide them during this. Hinata answered, then flexed her talons. Or after. You really plan to kill us? Hizashi asked. No, she doesn't. A Hyuga woman bleeding from her arms and left leg stated. If they really did intend that, we wouldn't be here talking about it. On the contrary. We just wanted to give you the honor of last words. Isaribi countered. Have any? There's no way you're going to kill us. One of the still able-bodied Hyuga declared as he got back on his feet and charged. Hinata got off her perch and next thing anyone knew she was a blur that reappeared behind him and he stopped in his tracks. He twitched slightly and his mouth was open in a silent shout before blood erupted from his midsection and the top half of his body fell off his bottom half. Stunned by this, some other Hyuga found the strength to try and attack Hinata too. She repeated her strange maneuver and even cleaved 4 in a row this way. The others got wise and chose to try and flee, but Isaribi pounced and bit one of them on the throat. He died soon, but 3 others managed to get away unscathed and ran for a safe location, leaving only Hizashi left to face the transformed girls who turned their sights on him. Why us? Why do you hate our clan so much? Hizashi asked, hoping his son wouldn't get involved. Oh, I don't. But this isn't about me. Isaribi said, returning to her human form. Hinata was returning as well, but she looked full of repressed anger waiting to burst forth like a volcano. Why do I hate the Hyuga so much? I have my reasons. Reasons I do not wish to explain. All you need to know is your so-called honorable clan acted criminal to me and those closest to me, and this is karmic retribution. I'm sending a message to your enslaving, child-beating, two-faced self-destructive clan. That message being you can't get away with being cruel forever. But I was never like that. Hizashi defended. I was once part of the branch family. I know full well how abusive the Hyuga clan can be to others. Believe me, I understand exactly what you're mad about. But I've been changing everything in them. If you kill me, it will all be undone and they will revert back to their old habits. Hinata stayed in her spot, but she did not look pacified. You wish me to believe that the only thing that stands between the Hyuga and criminal behavior is you and the laws of Konoha. I wouldn't put it that way. Hizashi said. But your point is that the Hyuga clan will only behave when someone with rank over them is watching, and once they can't then the clan will do as it pleases. The Byakugan-wielding girl told her biological uncle, though she didn't care at all how they were related. Hizashi gained a tired expression. You're convinced my clan has no honor, aren't you? At this point he was tired of defending his case in a futile argument, but he was hoping to delay her long enough to buy time for backup to arrive. What honor is there in beating someone under the age of 4 until they have bruises and calling it training? What honor is there in poisoning a pregnant woman about to give birth? What honor is there in turning your own relatives into slaves and threatening them with death or agony when they ask to be treated like human beings? Hizashi was silent, unable to refute two of the claims. There had been times when some Hyuga masked child abuses training and were put to death when the child itself came close to it, and the caged bird seal was pretty much a poorly disguised tool of torture. But the part about the pregnant woman was news to him. I admit the Hyuga are not perfect. No clan is. But there's no way any of us would poison a preg. He was silenced by a kunai thrown into his throat. Oh. And why exactly did Hitomi Hyuga disappear? Hinata asked. Let's go before someone gets here. Isaribi suggested. Hinata nodded and the two shushined away. Unable to attack them now, a recovering Neji immediately moved to his dying father. Otu-san. He could tell from the wound that Hizashi wasn't going to live much longer whether or not the kunai was removed. If anything it was a miracle he wasn't dead right then. Hizashi lifted his fingers and dabbed them in his blood before writing something on the ground for Neji. 1439. Then he went limp. Shikamaru felt his shadow hold on Kurenai. Ripped apart was the best way to describe it. Something about her new chakra is counteracting my own. I can't maintain my hold on her anymore. He pulled his shadow back and stepped back to be closer to his sensei in anticipation of what she might do. Kurenai's mark spread over her skin and her body began to transform. At first, her skin just looked like it was hardening, forming a shell of sorts but not an exoskeleton since there were no joints or gaps in the shell. Her hair condensed and solidified into a set of spikes on her head like gigantic quills or Jiraiya's Hari Jizo Jutsu. Her skin and eyes turned dark blue almost indigo and reflected light like a gemstone. Overall, she looked like she had turned into a human sapphire dressed in a bandage-style outfit. Kurenai smiled and flexed her fingers, which now ended in points much like her hair. And while not sharp, they didn't look harmless. Testing to see if this was just a genjutsu, Asuma tried a genjutsu release, only to see no change. Still desperate, he threw a chakraless kunai and Kurenai batted it away with her hand. A clanking sound was heard when the metal knife collided with her crystal appendage. In case you're still in denial, this is real. As real as my friend over there. No need to hurry, Nai-chan. I'm sure these kids won't last much longer anyway. Enko called out. Asuma looked over and saw that Ino, Choji, and Tenten indeed would not last much longer if they didn't get free of Enko's strangling. But the weird thing was he suspected Enko wasn't really trying to kill them. A real snake, like a python for example, could kill a person in seconds by constricting the neck if it tried, so she should have been able to kill 3 genin several times by now. This felt more like she was keeping them as hostages instead. What do you want from us? Asuma asked Kurenai, hoping his hostage idea was correct and he could bargain or trick the kunoichi into releasing the genin. Even so he held up a new trench knife that he put his wind chakra into, giving it a sharper edge. What do we want? Well, I could ask you and those you know to simply withdraw from the fight and leave us alone, or give us information on someone we're looking for, but I highly doubt you'll do either. So how about this instead? You spread a message for me. A message? Asuma asked. Shikamaru was confused too. Yes, a message. Something that all of Konoha needs to know when this is over. And what message is that? The former member of the Guardian 12 suspiciously asked. Kurenai smirked. You'll know when the time comes. Bye. She then left by jumping over the ledge to go elsewhere. Enko saw this and released her captives, who fell on their butts gasping for air as she followed her good friend. Asuma immediately checked on his students and Tenten with Shikamaru's help. But Kurenai's words haunted him. I'll know when the time comes. What does that mean? The older Ino Shika Cho trio and their support were surrounded by a group of Suna shinobi and their released Biju. Many of the Suna-nin looked apprehensive being in the vicinity of Shukaku, but as long as the Tanuki didn't attack them they weren't going to draw attention to themselves. Inoichi and Shikaku looked the freshest and most able to fight, while Shuza and the others looked like they needed to get to the hospital before they fought anymore. Shikaku's mind was working a mile a minute right then. I have two options. I can try and trap them all and hope Inoichi can attack them all quickly, or we can surrender and hope they're not here just to kill us all. It's troublesome, but I think I know which one I should try. I don't suppose you'd let us surrender, would you? Shikaku said when he fell onto a knee, looking like he was running low on stamina now. Not really. We're not here for a senseless slaughter, but we're not interested in prisoners either. Baki told the Nara head. This confused Shikaku. You're not trying to kill us or take prisoners. Then why in Kami's name are you attacking our village? For the most part, we're trying to make a point to Konoha's leadership as well as improve our chances of getting more business in the future. A different Suna-nin answered. Konoha has been taking a lot of our jobs from us and unless we do something about it your village is going to bleed us dry. Would you do anything different if the situation was reversed? I can understand the business part. That's understandable. But what this point you claim you're trying to make? Inoichi asked. Kage-sama is doing that for us, so you don't need us to tell you. By now Shikaku was finished looking over the area and preparing his jutsu. Shadow branching trap jutsu. On the ground his shadow sprouted multiple limbs and quickly sprang out to ensnare all the surrounding Suna-nin. Tamari and Kankuro got out of the way and into the trees, but the rest didn't and were forced to stand in place. Jutsu success. Get him Inoichi. The Yamanaka head tried to prepare his own jutsu, but was halted by a sudden gust of wind coming from Tamari. Shikaku's shadow kept its hold but now he was worried his partner wouldn't succeed in a follow-up maneuver. A rumble on the ground told them that Shukaku was coming closer, ready to do some serious damage even if the Suna-nin couldn't. Despite his wound, Shuza was in no mood to stand back and do nothing. Full body expansion jutsu. He regrew back to giant size and faced the Ikibi again. Regaining his bearings, Inoichi started his jutsu again before someone could interfere. Mind distortion jutsu. This was one of the few multi-target techniques the Yamanaka had, allowing him to affect everyone within a small radius, just big enough to affect everyone Shikaku had trapped. It wouldn't hurt them, just give them what felt like a sudden hangover at full power. The only downside would be Shikaku would be affected too and thus the shadow jutsu would be undone, and normally that would be when Shuza would demolish them before they recovered, so now Inoichi would have to fight on his own. The jutsu took effect and everyone around Inoichi was stricken with the worst headache they ever had without alcohol being involved. Shikaku released his jutsu involuntarily as expected and he and the others collapsed holding their heads. Before any could try to recover or ignore the effects, Inoichi pulled out two longer than standard kunai and rushed to the closest Suna-nin, which happened to be Baki. 2 days to properly defend himself, the half-masked Suna-nin was about to be sliced in a lethal area. Has Kankuro's puppet not intercepted and taken the hit for him? Damn, those two genin were outside my jutsu's range. But I can still take them. He used his first long kunai to break Karasu's mouth and damage the Senbon launcher and his second weapon he kept at bay. A wise choice, as Karasu swung its arm revealing a blade Inoichi had to block with his own. Tamari tried to sneak up on the blonde Junin and hit him in the head, but he heard her and ducked. In the process Karasu's arm got free and continued its swing, so the blade ended up cutting Tamari above her breasts under her collarbone. Seeing the wound, Kankuro withdrew his puppet and immediately approached his sister. Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. He kept saying, knowing his weapons were poisoned and if Tamari died there'd be 3 people ready to beat him to a pulp for it. Hang in there Nisan. He said reaching into his pockets for the antidote. Inoichi did another hand sign. Mind destruction jutsu. He aimed this one at Tamari, causing her to become catatonic for a time before she sprang up to her feet. What are you doing to her? Kankuro asked. I'm fighting a puppet user with a puppet. But mine's harder for you to hurt. Kankuro had the advantage of being the more experienced puppet user in this fight, but Inoichi had the advantage of having a puppet Kankuro didn't want to attack. Not only that, but Shikaku was already on his way to recovering while the Suna-nin would need more time. Shikaku had been exposed to this method before and expected it, so naturally he had a quicker recovery time than first-time victims. Kankuro's only backup was Gaara and Shukaku, and both of them were fighting the one-handed Shuza, who was amazingly holding his own against the Sand Tanuki. It wasn't going to last long. Shukaku was a chakra monster and Shuza had lost a fair amount of blood already. Not to mention Shukaku had more to attack with, and now was trying to crush the Akamichi head with his tail by wrapping it around his midsection. The pressure of the tail was making it difficult for Shuza to breathe, but he pushed on like he was trying to shove the Biju out of the village. Strange thing was, he was little by little close to succeeding, although Shukaku had little problem pushing back, creating a standstill. All the while Gaara did nothing, using most of his energy and focus just to help maintain Shukaku's body while being alert so he could get rid of it before the Biju decided he wanted more targets than allowed. If he could, he'd attack Shuza with Shukaku or leave to help his siblings, but this was all he could do. Shukaku meanwhile didn't mind that. He was loose and permitted to kill, and this large Konoha nin had offered himself up to the slaughter. In no real hurry to get his fun over with, the Ikibi enjoyed making the Akamichi struggle first, but now he was getting bored. You bore me, Konoha nin. Time to end this and get me some more blood. The Tanuki said. Over my dead body. Shuza said. I agree completely. Shukaku said before he opened his mouth wide and lunged forward, his mouth locking down over Shuza's head. The gigantic ninja tried to get the Biju to let go, but Shukaku clamped down and next thing he knew, Shuza was headless. There was a lot of blood from the wound before Shuza's body fell down and shrank back to its original size, luckily doing so before it hit the ground. The blood didn't as quickly, so the ninja in the area were covered in it. Inoichi froze and looked up, not seeing his old friend anymore. Shikaku looked up too, only to not see Shuza fighting the sand construct. At that time Inoichi's hold over Tamari broke and she collapsed. Taking the opportunity, Kankuro got to her and injected her with the antidote before it did anything worse than it already had. Shuza. The Yamanaka and Nara shouted when they realized what happened. The Suna nin were starting to get back to their feet, but the Konoha nin had something more important to them on their minds. Wanting to get to their comrade ASAP, Inoichi threw a paper bomb kunai to the ground and helped Shikaku leave with him. Kankuro saw the waiting explosive and knew he couldn't get everyone out of there in time. Unable to choose which ones to save, he grabbed Tamari and prepared to at least save her. He got back, but then Shukaku's arm thrust down and covered the explosive, taking the hit. Sand was blown everywhere, but no one died. Damn, I missed them. Shukaku said, aiming for Inoichi and Shikaku at the time. Sasama, Haku, and Fu followed Subsonic to a currently unoccupied section of Konoha's protective wall. When they got there, 3 people showed up, looking like they were expecting the quartet of Kunoichi. They were dressed like Anbu, but they all had blank masks, hoods, and long sleeves. So like Subsonic, they displayed no identifying characteristics. Ah, Subsonic-sama, glad to see you made it. The center one greeted. At that moment Yamato and Kimimaro showed up, following a 4th masked ninja. Great timing, Yamato-san and Kimimaro-san. And hello bass, sharp, flat, and tenor. You certain this is the entry point? Subsonic greeted back. All 4 nodded. Indeed. We've seen some ninja go in and out here, including Danzo himself. This is the place. Good. Let's see if the guy's down there. Subsonic-san, there's nothing here. Sasama pointed out. Watch and learn. The former Uchiha matriarch told the orange-haired girl. The masked nin dubbed Bass by Subsonic went to the wall and pulled out a small block that normally looked like a mere part of the wall. When he pulled it out, it turned out it was connected to some kind of mechanism and he rotated it like a key. When he turned it 180 degrees he put it back in place. Suddenly a previously invisible door opened on the wall, revealing a corridor that led into the wall and under it. Wow! The Kunoichi genin said. No time to admire the craftsmanship. There's likely to be an alert system. The masked nin Subsonic called sharp said as bass, flat, and tenor went into the doorway. Subsonic joined them with her remaining helper and Sasama, Haku, and Fu followed. As if on a timer, the door closed automatically.